I'm on my own, broken alone. I feel the rain crashing down all around this empty town. I'm searching for the lost and found, but you don't care, you're unaware. Keep moving like the scars aren't even there. It's in the air like a blazing flare. Just stare 'cause the flames will burn us. I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. I used to kiss your head when you cried for me. Hold your hand while the pain was over. Keep you No point in blaming you, you did not know. Oh. I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me.
everyone, and welcome to week 2 of the playoffs for the European University Rocketeers Championship. We've now said goodbye to over half of our starting 36 teams. Only 16 teams remain in competition for the title. Those 16 teams are definitely among the elite in European Collegiate Rocket League. In the upper bracket, only 2 series wins separate any of these 8 teams from a spot in the grand final. But there's a little bit more to do still for those who have found themselves in the losers bracket before that grand final. Quite a lot more to do. And here on the desk tonight to break down what happened, the teams that got punted down to the losers bracket last week, the teams that got punted out of the tournament altogether. I'm No Lake. I am joined by Hypheria. I'm joined by Atch. And I guess, before we do anything else, let's just dive straight into the games from last week. And start with a spicy one that has been repeated even since then, Atch. Loughborough lost to Salford in that lower bracket, a rematch of the winners' final in their domestic league, where the result was repeated in NSC, but I believe the score was quite a lot closer.
Yeah, so Salford and Loughborough are probably heartily sick of each other by now. I think 3 times in the last week they've played each other in 2 domestic competitions and in the, like we're talking about here, the European scene. So quite a lot going on there. Loughborough did lose out on 1 domestic and in this, of course, in the EUR last week. So not great for them. They did take that last domestic match, but I'm sure they would want it to continue their run here with a brutal, first round losers matchup for perhaps arguably two of the top 5, maybe English teams, British teams in this whole setup. But their group performances got them to where they were, and the fact that they had to play each other was unfortunate, but that's just how it goes.
Well, it is how it goes. I mean, you don't perform in groups, you'll end up in that lower bracket. Things will look rough for you, but Salford definitely going to be a team that everyone has to keep an eye on in that lower bracket. They are definitely one of the teams that could go all the way from that first round losers bracket to the very sharp end of the tournament. But, speaking of teams that didn't have a great group stage, Hypheria, speaking of teams that had to start in that losers bracket, ULB, the only team to qualify out of groups with a negative game score. They're back to a positive game score across the entire tournament now with their win 4-2 over York last week.
Yeah, it was a really weird series pretty much the entire way through. It was just odd misses, and then at some point they were finally able to break through, and it confused me till infinity. What I do like about the bracket is that it's very much been a plot to set all the English teams up against each other, have a little bit of an internal fight, and then the winner of that may come out, because pretty much every single British team, there will only be one of them left once we reach lower round 4.
Yeah, exactly. One of the reasons that has happened is that unfortunately our 4th match of tonight will not be taking place. Bournemouth have given the forfeit over to Portsmouth Paladin. So Bournemouth dropping straight into that losers bracket. But as you mentioned, they're very near a lot of other English teams down there. We'll see Kiel Krakens versus Essex Blades. It's going to be our first matchup of the night tonight in the losers bracket. And the winner of that will already be playing Bournemouth, which is going to be a tough matchup for either of the match, assuming Bournemouth show up with a full roster when the time comes.
Well, yes, I mean, for those following the UK scene, perhaps no more Bournemouth a manoeuvre than to dispatch Kiel very confidently last week and then just decide not to show up this week. That's how they operate. It's obviously great news for Portsmouth, who will be looking, will be very happy to have avoided the increasingly stacked lower bracket. They look like they'll have punched their ticket, quite a decent way further into the tournament with that, keeping their 2 lives intact. So great for them. And, like I feel was saying, not so great for any British team that isn't Portsmouth. Portsmouth will avoid that large glut of their domestic rivals. But all of the others, like you say, will have to play each other. And Kiel and Essex kicking us off tonight.
That's true, and I will have to correct myself. The winner of that match doesn't play Bournemouth. They'll actually play the loser of the Berlin Phoenix versus Beckett Bears. So still potentially another UK team. I think we're still expecting another UK team to go down there. But listen, we have plenty of time tonight to talk about the Berlin Phoenixes and how ridiculously good they have looked so far in this tournament. But look, I suppose the time has come. Let's focus in a little bit more on this first matchup we have tonight. Kiel Krakens versus Essex Bears. 2 teams that were kind of middle of their groups coming out of this tournament, out of the group stage. But Kiel, they've done it while being plagued with subs all tournament long, and their first round matchup in the upper bracket was no different.
Yeah, once again they are without their main roster, but maybe that just at this point actually favors them. They've gained chemistry with everybody who's not regularly playing, and it gives Essex a little bit more of a chance. I'd say if Kiel would play with their full lineup, this would be a pretty one-sided matchup here. But now with, I think, Poddy being gone and having tiny cracks in that Kiel defense probably, and then Essex can actually find their way through. Very much an off and on team on the side of Essex. So it's going to be coming down to Well, we know Kiel can massively show up, but Essex has been hit or miss, and if they miss massively. So this is going to be either incredibly close or not whatsoever. It's going to be one-sided or dominated.
Okay, yeah. Listen, I kind of get what you're saying. Yeah, no, look, it's close enough. It could be dominated. It could be dominated, I think, either way, depending on who shows up, depending on the Kiel form, the synergy they have managed to build up or not. But look, I mean, Essex last week, you kind of mentioned it. They were on last week, but only on enough to get a 4-3 win over Esports Team 20. And Atch, I mean, look, they're now one of the last open qualifier teams in the tournament. I say that there's 7 open qualifier teams actually left in our final 16, which kind of goes to show the strength of some of those teams that have come through. But Essex will be looking to go all the way. They'll have played a lot of Rocket League together over the last few months to get this far.
Yeah, 100%. Essex, and like Hypheria was just saying, they'll be happy to see this Kiel team still not quite at full strength. Although, and correct me if I'm wrong, I do believe they're at slightly fuller strength than they were when we saw them last week, and even then they managed to win. Time constant back. So I believe that's a new thing for them, which they'll be very happy with. Poddy's still currently homeless,
unavailable,
as far as we can tell. Yeah, stuck moving and without internet. So yeah, nightmare for them. Their season domestically and in Europe almost entirely derailed by unfortunate instances of moving houses and other sort of real life occurrences like that. Essex, again, I can't help but agree with Hypheria. They will come out swinging, and they will either keep their motivation or just watch it fly away in the wind. And it probably depends really on how Kiel come out in these first couple of games and if they can really stifle Essex.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, we're going to move swiftly into predictions. We're going to move swiftly through predictions as well, because I'll be honest, I think Kiel have what it takes to beat Essex tonight. With 2 out of the 3 members and only 1 out of the 3 members needed to take Bournemouth to all 7 games last week, I think Kiel have it in the bag. And Hypheria, I'm going to throw it to you for a follow-up to that.
There's no real follow-up needed. I'm going to agree very simply. Kiel taking it in a 4-1 victory.
That's entirely fair. And National, anything different to say about that?
You know what? I don't know. Sometimes I feel like all I've done so far today is sat here and gone, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to agree with Hypheria. This time, I'm not going to agree with either of you. For the record, I think you're both right. But just to make things a little bit more interesting and to balance it out a little, I think if Essex show up, they do have a chance of winning. It's not the greatest chance, but I'm going to back them to show up. Take it in 6.
Take it in 6 for Essex. So 4-2 potentially the score for Essex. And with that, we are going to prepare ourselves to launch into game. Well, I say we're going to do it. You two are going to prepare yourselves to get into game. And I'm going to take myself far, far away. Enjoy the cast, boys.
Yes, sir. I am apparently in the booth with an absolute madman, a psycho, I always want to say it. 6 games. Okay, actually, we have a little bit more time to elaborate on that. What are you thinking when you say 4-2 for Essex?
I'll level with everyone at home. I'm not thinking. I'm believing. I will again stress. I love both of these teams. I think they both have what it takes to do really, really well here. But I think, just for a bit of variety on the desk, I wanted to make a case for Essex winning. I think they can win. They probably, if you played this match a few dozen times, they probably wouldn't win more often than not, but they would definitely get a few. So we'll just have to see. Like it's at this stage in particular, best of 7 losers bracket, one big poor series from you guys and you're out. So just comes down to who's turning up on the night, really.
Yeah, I think it's going to very much depend on that first game. Kiel, if they really manage to get going and kind of show that confidence early on, they might just be able to almost sweep their way through. If Essex show up really strong here and just get off to that great start, and we know they can have, but it all depends. Game number 1, Kiel versus Essex. It's looking to be underway very, very soon. And so everybody actually joins up on the Kiel side. Even with their substitute, they still have trouble joining up, but they can finally get it together. George and K3 kicking us off. And that also means Kiel versus Essex has been kicked off. 5 minutes on the clock as usual. And it is Essex already in control.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I would back Essex to produce, whether they win or not, is at least one firework play. They're really, really good at their offense, and they do it really well, both individually and as a team. Here we go, already looking for each other across the midfield. George Burke left a little bit isolated at the back. That'll be something that Kiel will have to look to do. They did it very successfully, time constant as well. End-to-end stuff here, starting out game 1. The shot coming in from George cleared away. like you say, Essex really, coming out swinging here in game one.
Ooh, almost swinging enough. George coming in for a second shot. Lexino in an unfortunate position, gets it out. The switch, that's not going to be on target. Time Constant still panics and makes a hit. Waste boost a little bit. K3 now can't go out. You get the follow-up. Lets George hit it right back to him. Looking for the follow-ups. Time Constant taking over. K3, you waste a boost. Thus won't be able to go for a follow-up on that. It was a decent, promising at the start, but it just completely fell away with that one double commit and kill. They have to take a little bit of a defensive rotation now.
Yeah, but there are a couple of signs here from Essex, our guys in the white kit, that I'm really liking. That play there, they went for the long clear. George Burke just ignored the ball entirely, went straight for a bump on that last man. You've got to think when Kiel are still playing without the roster they're used to, these kind of physical plays to try and damage the rotation could really work out well for them. I like the way, Switch, clearly playing confident, has already gone for at least one musty in this opening 90 seconds. So Essex not daunted by the size of this challenge in front of them, but Kiel, we saw last week, even with a arguably even slightly weaker team than this, managed to take Bournemouth to 7, so it is definitely going to be a big, big challenge.
Oh yeah, for sure. But Rocket League is a lot of confidence. So if you have the confidence to try and take them down, George making a pivotal save here to keep it level. Still Dues looking to, well, just start it from his own defensive side. I guess sometimes that's an option. Now K3, can he get it cross map once again? Dues with the backflip.
Oh, there we go.
He messed it up, or he perfectly faked it out. Either way, it's a bit of an ankle breaker.
Yeah, that was not intentional. I'm not giving him any credit for that whatsoever, but he recovered it well and managed to just doink that ball past the last Essex defender. So with just under half the game gone, Kiel, 1 goal to the good here, but you wouldn't put it past Essex to come back in at this stage.
Oh, for sure not. 2.5 minutes is still plenty of time. Now Lexino, he has to do something about it rather quickly than later. Oh my word, it actually is dropping in front of the goal. K3 has a relatively easy clear out. Thus far, Essex, they've moved up in the attacking position, but not really. And once again, it's not really that threatening, I want to say. It's not really that I'm clenching the entire time for Kiel here, thinking, oh my word, this could just find its way in any given second. No, they're really only in towards the corner, and that is where Kiel already cleared out. So there needs to be a little bit better attack out of Essex.
Yeah, you're 100% spot on, but fans of Essex will be feeling good about how confident Switch is looking so far. Just dunked the clear from Dues off the ceiling. Very nearly got back to it as well, but the signs are good for him. That's coming down off the ceiling. He might get back to it. Will he get back to it? He won't. He's just missed a completely open net, but unfortunate for him. I think maybe he expected the clear, didn't get it. Dues looking to bring this clear down the right-hand side, and Lexeno's completely missed it. Switch has been faked out. Who's first to it? Time Constant. George makes the save. Out it goes, but all in the wrong side of the field for Essex as time ticks down in game 1.
Oh my, that surely is another great opportunity. Indeed is, but Lexino makes an even better save to keep it out. Switch now down the other end, looking for that goal, that connecting goal, or well, that equalizing goal rather. Lexino and Time Constant both missing the ball is going to give K3 plenty of time to get a massive booming flick out. And Time Constant has the follow-up, and you give Kiel a little bit of time, and this is what they do with it.
Yeah, Switch caught back his last man with a whole 12 boost. He did about as well as he could have done to get towards that ball, but Time Constant did brilliantly to slot it in the top shelf. Just the final minute approaching now, and 2 goals to the good for Kiel could see them take game 1.
And this is where I think my prediction, it kind of goes a step in the perfect direction, where it could just be a little bit of a steamroll from this point out from Kiel, and maybe Essex get that 1 game in, but they currently, they look semi-threatening. They're barking. Let's just put it like that. It's all bark, no bite. They need to go all bite, no bark, and kind of be that silent threat who's not really showing up, and then all of a sudden they have a perfect breakout, because currently they have a lot of breakouts. And then they do manage to get it in. 30 seconds remain. This game is still possible.
Still give George an eternity in the midfield here. Switch misses a backboard read that I like to think even I'd get sometimes. And manages to perfect. You know what? He meant it. Let's say that. He found George rotating out from his touch. And George just backflips it into the net just under 30 seconds. We've got a game on our hands here in game 1.
Yeah, I guess I spoke a little bit too soon. I was like, Essex, as soon as they have a little bit of confidence going, they are capable of many, many things. They're just not really as accurate as I would like them to be right now to make this even more of an interesting game. 10 seconds remain and they need to equalize, but instead it is down the opposing end. Dudes with another shot, Lexno with a clear out. George, can he find his teammate? K3 will shut that down within an instant, and that time constant is just bumps up in the defense. Nice triple commit out of Essex, and Kiel take home the first game.
Yeah, that was a half chance there right at the death for them to really set something up, but all three of them just got a bit too close to that ball, a bit crossed on the communication, couldn't manage to make that count. But, you know, promising signs from both sides, depending on which way you want to look at it. Obviously, Kiel perhaps expected to win overall, and they played brilliantly, did really, really well, but there were times where their defense was a little bit suspect, and Essex did seem to realize that those times were there and capitalize on them when possible. So looks like at least it's going to be close enough to be entertaining.
Oh, for sure. And Essex, the main part, and I'll just keep on hammering this because it's basically, well, the most important part is putting the ball into the back of the net. They're getting in the attack, they're getting the opportunity, but they're not actually having a threatening shot on target. Also, there was a completely open net, and then they kind of get lucky that George is in the right position and switch. Yeah. He completely missed that open net. It's just not really that convincing from Essex what they really need to be to take down Kiel.
No, although on the flip side of that, of course, I would argue maybe only one of Kiel's goals was particularly convincing. Du's got a little bit of fortune to open the scoring in that first match with his strange little backflip doink. So, you know, both sides showing signs of, you know, potential brilliance in future games, but also showing signs of still needing a bit of time to warm up. So hopefully as we go forward, we'll be able to see a bit more from both of these sides on the offensive side.
And here we go, game number 2, an important one for Essex. They want to level it directly, get back into the series, otherwise it could just run away from them slowly. Alexan already in the attack inside, they have not lost confidence whatsoever. Doesn't necessarily get the greatest center as Dudes is able to clear it out. George rips another one time, Conson with a save. Is there any other save coming out or any other follow-up? Neither side are really quick to, and the side who was quickest could have just been in such a favorable position. It seems as if it's a very scrappy start out of both teams in this initial minute.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed perhaps with the fact that Lexano was so far back off that touch. He just needed to be a fraction of a second quicker, and that probably would have been the opening goal for Essex. But you know, you can understand it with plenty of time left on the clock. You don't want to be throwing the house just yet. Switch up for this. Looking to get his shooting boots on. That was better from him. Again, George can't really follow that up straight away. He'll get here. Out into the mid it goes. Dudes and Time Constant both up. This is dangerous. Lexeno lofts it high. Time Constant has to get a touch, and he does. K3 looks to fake one out, perhaps. No, manages to get the clear, actually. And Lexeno left back again. Kiel really buying into these long clears, and it's working for them so far.
Oh no, and then a miss on the backboard. That's not putting Lexano in a great position. Nobody from Kiel expected it to be happening. They're just still back on defense. Pinch going towards the other side of the pitch where K3 can pick it up in a little bit of a 50 with Lexano. Lexano comes out, relative victor with the infield pass not going where they necessarily would have wanted it. And Dude's 37 boost won't be able to get anything going himself. That's ups just for the 50. K3 once again with that flick going in, taking it past 2 defenders. 50 going in towards the center. George picks it up and clears it out.
Yeah, but Kiel really starting to exert their control over this Essex defensive side at the minute. Time Constant, in it goes. Switch should have a comfortable save, and he probably will get back to this. Now, this is the kind of situation you don't want to put Switch in because he will put shots on. Just cannoned it off the crossbar. Very, very close from Essex, and they're not done yet. Time Constant manages to squirm that one out off his near post.
Right, now down the opposing end, it's looking a little bit messy, a little bit scrappy thus far. Essex have managed to hold on perfectly fine. No worry whatsoever, and Essex, they have been the dominant force in this current game. And Dudes, can he come out with Time Constant? It's going to be a rough race. The Switch wins it indeed. And George, down the line he goes, gets a second touch. K3 in an awkward position, not having that corner boost, going to make him a little bit slower here and looking desperately for that boost, something to get him going. Infield pass to Dudes, who rips it on target, and then that's just the difference. Kiel, they are absolutely lethal when they're in attack.
Switch had a really awkward reteammate with no boost there, and then got that boost but wasn't quite there fast enough. All 3 Essex defenders beaten out by the shot coming down off the crossbar. He'll take the lead again. and Essex have to chase. But, you know, again, for them, promising signs in the offense, just need that final product, as we said before.
Yeah, an interesting boost miss once again by K3. The time constant with a pass to the side is only going to reach George. Dudes has an easy clear out, but it's not necessarily the greatest one just yet. George able to get it underneath. Can we actually get something going? Essex, they've once again not really been that accurate, or not accurate at all. Now Dudes all of a sudden runs away, gets himself in a 1v1 situation, maybe an infield pass towards time constant. It's George who gets in the way, but 6 shots, 7 shots now out of Essex, and none of them finding its way through.
That was an almost perfectly placed shot there. Just didn't quite manage to make it. There we go. Switch is down. That's on target. Deuce has to get there. Switch tries to get back to it off the post. It's an awkward read for him to make it such short notice. He's kept it in for now, but that ball's going to go down enough for K3 to get to it. Is he looking off the backboard? He is. Lexeno's in all sorts of trouble, but he makes the save. Does brilliantly there to keep Essex in this game number 2.
Oh man, the confidence that K3 went up for that is absolutely stunning. When it doesn't find its way through, and now time constant needs to get it in there once again. Lexeno has been such a pivotal player on Essex, also making the save against K3 right there. It's really been for Essex that their defense is honestly looking pretty tidy. Their defense is looking solid. It's just their attack doesn't quite have the power needed. George has another go to completely prove me wrong here, and that is kind of what I prove. It's a shot, but it isn't necessarily threatening whatsoever.
Yeah, no, Keel will take those all day long. Switch might get caught out here, makes the save against Deuce. Will get back to the ball, launching it long. K3 has to make that touch, which he does confidently. George, again, looking for those off the sidewall. They seem to be really consistent at leveraging them straight towards the net out off the wall. Switch, infield it goes. George is there, time ticking down, and that miss could cost Essex here. They'll get a touch, but time constant gets the dunk on Lexeno. Switch into his own corner, doesn't bounce as high as he might like. Well, that's a great touch out to him from Lexeno. Needs a flick, gets a flick, but he has no boost now. Can he get back to it? Gets a dunk. Where's the shot? Lexeno's there. Infield pass to George Burke. It's brilliant from Essex on the 10-second mark. George Burke slows that down just enough to make all the Kiel defense fly away, and we've got a tie game here in game 2.
The infield pass scared me so much. I thought George just ripped it high.
Yeah.
Oh my, 10 seconds. You don't want to be that clinching. But hey, they clinch it, and nonetheless, and now 10 seconds, we should probably see an overtime, unless I'm going to say a mistake happens, because otherwise there's no way this should go to not to an overtime, and indeed it does. Overtime, game number 2. Essex 1 goal away from tying the series up. Can they actually do it? Miss out of time constant, only giving the ball to Deuce. K3, is he going to be there first? George ripping a shot. K3 has that save any day of the week. Deuce now on the other end. Aims to catch this ball, looking for an infield pass. It's just a little bit too far forward. No effects coming out of it just yet. And that's K3 able to get a touch on the side into time constant to make sure it gets out of defense.
And this is dangerous now for Kiel. Wow, what a save from George off his own backboard. K3 had that redirect pretty well nailed on, I think. Now he's up off his ceiling. Switch. He has to be up quickly. He is up quickly. That's a great shot for the far post. He doesn't get it, but Lexeno will follow in. Much more clinical from Essex this time around, and they tie up the series here at 1 game apiece.
Oh my, I already saw Essex not making it through there, not getting the goal into the back of the net. Out of the 14 shots they took, they only converted 2 of those, but those 2 are the perfect ones to actually take down this game and take it at least to a game number 5. And well, they've slapped themselves back now after a loss out of against Kiel. Obviously, they very much gotten back into it, and it makes me kind of doubt my prediction here.
Yeah, I mean, you can again read this basically however you want to at this stage. It's still so early in these best of 7 series to be making sort of grand statements about the whole series. But one thing that is worth noting, despite Essex winning, their shooting percentage, I believe, will actually be slightly worse. No, it won't, but they still only managed to put up 2 goals from 14 shots. So not the most clinical display, even if it was slightly more clinical than last time. Again, Kiel only managing 1 from 9. So both sides, I think, you know, getting some offense put together, and then the defense on the other team getting back just in time to make a save. But it's been pretty at times. It's also been a little bit worrying.
Yeah, and that is the biggest part, the worrying part, because if it's also pretty at the same time, then you're going to have that messy situation as soon as the opponent actually has that pretty time, that time to shine. So it's just a matter of time when those two start combining and it all unfolds into a massive circus, and that's something that it could have been all along. As Alexino makes a save, it's not necessarily a hard one, but once again, Essex is one of those where you don't really expect it to be that close.
No, it did make me think twice about whether he was going to get there, but he, you know, I'm sure he would have said he had it covered all along. Pop up. Now, who's on that? Dooz is on that, but Lexeno's got there. He's got one down the right-hand side, but the ball just goes straight off the ceiling. Huge side flips and time constant might cost them here. George, want to keep it in. K3 gets a clear. He's done well there because Dooz now has a one-on-one situation. The big demo from Switch on his backward rotation really helps out Lexeno there. They avoid the crisis for now, but Kiel really pushing here at the start.
You know, Lexino down the side, he goes 0 boost, still gets a favorable 50. K3 is able to pick that up unscathed though, still whips it right into Switch. Time comes and perfectly getting in the way. That's floating on target. George has to do something about it. Not really the greatest threat as of right now, but it was once again a little bit of an iffy moment. And Essex, they need to be on their toes at all times, otherwise one of those might just find its way through. Time constant now doesn't have the greatest clear out. Lexino looking to get a whip in towards the pitch, and it's instead George waiting right underneath there.
Yeah, I was just about to criticise Essex then for just lofting long clears away when perhaps they could look for that outfield connection, but this time it seems to work. Time constant maybe underestimating the amount of boost he had in the tank. Gets a good touch onto the backboard, and I thought he would make the follow-up, but just missed it, and George placed that shot absolutely perfectly into the top right. So for the first time that hasn't been a game decider, Essex have the lead in this series. We'll just have to see what they do with it.
Yeah, it's a little bit... Oh, I'm not too sure what's going on at time. That Twitch. Okay, then once again, Essex a little bit too weak on it. They are still in the lead, so all they really need to do is trying to hold on. But for 3 minutes, that's a very long time. Time constant, not with the flip he was looking for. K3 reset of the ceiling, uses it unfortunately, and the flip's not working in the favor of Kiel right here. Obviously, that is completely by their own doing. They're side flipping, they're no flipping, and not the good kind of no flipping, and putting themselves in a bad position.
I'm not sure. I'd be interested to see that again if K3 was perhaps going for a fake, waiting and waiting, but Essex weren't biting. What a shot from Lexeno! That is the kind of lights-out offense you want to see Essex putting together as a team. Switch knocks it down, and look at this negative angle redirect.
And this is where we see that Kiel, they're very much still stuck in the previous two games, and Essex, they've come completely as a renewed brand. This time it's more edgy, more offensive, more towards putting your opponents under pressure at all times, and they are having the show right here. 2 shots, 2 goals. Essex are showing up absolutely massive. Switch is feeling it now. Flip reset going in field, not making his way past Dooz. Time constant. There was an open net beside him, but there was no way he could turn in and actually profit off of it. Kiel, they're looking weird on the rotation right now.
I think, you know, perhaps the lack of an established roster at the minute causing Kiel some problems. Essex doing quite well at sort of shutting them out here. Switch looks for the infield. George is going to just knock that straight at time constant. That's not what he would have wanted. Gets the boost, but Kiel should get an attack out of this. Switch pops it up. K3's already there. Clear is not quite there. And Switch just manages to get back. He's been their hero in their hour of need on the defensive rotation so far.
And it is very much Kiel pressing the issue more and more. They've been in the attacking side for a little bit now. They haven't really been able to break through with the blue boost at some point. It will be dwindling, it will be slowly dissipating, and then you don't have the mental fortitude anymore to try and hold on. You kind of just want to reset off of kickoff, but it's not right now, or at least K3 whipping that one back in. Time constant, once again with the misflip, it's really not looking great for Kiel here.
That's better from Dooz. The shot perhaps could have been connected with slightly better. K3 lofts one a bit aimlessly towards the net. Time constant challenges George for that. Doesn't quite get what he wants, although nearly a shooting opportunity. Lexeno has to bail Essex out. Time constant looking for the drop down to K3, but K3's not even there. Dooz gets the shot again, but it's well blocked from the Essex defense. George, last man back, does well, challenges early and catches them out here. He could manage to get a counter. Dooz manages to clear it off the corner, but with a minute remaining, Kiel needs some final product.
And they need to go very, very soon. 2 goals behind. And Essex, they're actually looking to take the lead in this series.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
no, a little bit of an open net switch gets that angle any day of the week. And with that, probably lock up the series here, or lock up this game here.
Yeah, 100%. Essex would do well to lose the game from here, I think. And those kind of plays, you know, like you say, completely open net. K3 and his team had to chase the lead there. Can't really fault them for overcommitting slightly as time ticks down. But those kind of things are really going to boost Switch's confidence, even if it's something that he'd expect to hit more often than not. Being able to do that in the big game situation, really helpful for them. Doos, again, last man back, has missed it. Lexeno should make it 4. What a save from Doos. Just a shame that it might not ultimately end up mattering that much.
Yeah, it won't end up mattering at all, but it still looks pretty. So, you know what, they'll very much have it. It's a little bit of that confidence going into the next game, let's just put it like that. I'm not too sure whether it actually will be, but at this point, Q actually need to take anything that they can get. They are second best right now, and Essex, they might just actually completely reverse the scoreline that I set. And they are currently on track to win 4-1. Obviously, plenty of time left to go for the Kiel side to try and make that comeback. But it is a good start out of Essex.
Yeah, definitely. You know, and we see them here putting up 3 from 6. A massive turnaround in their efficiency in the final third. So great from them. Again, Kiel putting up the most shots, but they're not getting any goals out of their 9 this time. Essex had a save for every single one. So Kiel need to find some new questions, because at the minute it seems like Essex have got all their answers.
And they need to have something different right now. They are struggling with what exactly Essex were struggling with in the first 2 games, and that was the accuracy. Even though Essex, they came out victor in that second game, it still wasn't necessarily that great. Essex, they've turned that around. They've got a 50% shot to goal ratio now. And Kiel, obviously they have a 0% for not making any goals, but they did have 9 shots on target once it, not necessarily on target, it is always Sionic's counting system, but it's just not good enough for Kiel right now. Something needs to come in different. There needs to be more venom on the shot, and then they might just be able to pull this back, but game 4 is going to prove that.
Yeah, I mean, they've looked good in... It's interesting, actually. In that game 3, it seemed like maybe all the teams secretly swapped names and decals while we weren't looking, because Essex came out swinging, converted a lot of their chances. Kiel did some great passing, found each other well, and then when it came down to that final product, the end shot, just couldn't quite manage to get it right. So it'll be interesting to see if we can find a game where both teams have their shooting form, because I think offense certainly out overpowering defense at the minute here.
Yeah, very much so, and you always have to get that back end tied up before you can actually start building a proper offense. Now, Doos, that back end is pretty tied with time constant sitting behind him and making sure that everything stays locked up. Double demo, but it's not really going to matter, as through the smoke it still gets red. It's a completely different queue. It seems like it, at least. Now Essex, they're taking in towards the offensive side. K3 picks it right back up and takes it into possession. It's looking a little bit better for Kiel. No goal out of it as of yet.
Yeah, but like you say, it has been promising so far. They've had some decent offense, and looking maybe for those bumps and demos could help them. We'll just have to see. Obviously, they only tried it the once. Doos forced to make an awkward save. Time constant manages to take it away from Lexeno, who could well have put that back on target. Doos, 100 boost. No ball. He gets it inside for K3, who wasn't probably expecting a touch like that. I certainly wasn't. And doesn't quite get a touch out again. Doos lofts it high. That might actually catch Switch out here. Off the crossbar it goes. Who's next to it? Time constant free shot. Oh my goodness, it's a travesty for Kiel. K3 looking for that second. George will get back to it. And a little bit of a moment there for Essex on defense, but Kiel just couldn't punish.
Oh, now Switch might just have to open now. It feels like it's been that top right corner so many times for Essex. They've absolutely sniped it out, and then that one attack that they really needed. The shots once again are completely the same. Essex are just better at converting, even though it might show on the scoreboard that Kiel have 2 points. They only have 1, and Essex, they're looking to make their 3rd here.
Yeah, it's interesting for me that, like you say, the placement from Essex after game 1 and 2 thought it might never come out, but it's turned up in force here the last game and the start of this one, so good for them. K3 and Kiel need to be a little bit more clinical. That's a big demo. It's going to leave Dooz in a horrible position. Is he going to throw himself at this? I think he'll have to. Manages to get a touch off to the right. Missed boost. Lexeno could have perhaps pushed that. Makes it awkward enough for K3 as it was. Switch. Infield. George Burke is there. Now, this is a pass, but K3 has no boost again.
Ooh.
Doesn't matter. He's managed to get a brilliant centre in with no boost to time constant, but the save was there from George. Switch. Backflip, trying maybe to musty it into the centre, doesn't get there. George, in it goes. Will it go in? Yes, it will. Doom sees it far enough off the wall that Essex have doubled their lead.
I'm not too sure whether this was a Doomsy or just complete mind control on the side of time constant. It was Doomsy enough to make time constant be on the wrong side. Oh my, okay, well that was an interesting one. Essex taking the 2-goal lead right now, and with that, looking for that 2-game lead as time constant doesn't have enough boost. Kiel, they're just constantly struggling on that boost, not managing to get anything going. George now off the ceiling, K3 getting in the way, but instead that's just going to help them along their path in towards a shot coming out. But not right now out of Essex. It's very much Kiel that needs to start moving.
Yes, they do. You know, time is obviously ticking away, as it always does. So they do need a goal sooner rather than later. K3 looking to turn provider there. Time constant now. Has some time on the backboard switch. Has to make the awkward read, and he does that really well. So Dooz next up. Doesn't get there. K3 will have a free shot here, and he lasers it hard enough that even the set defender in net couldn't reach it. Kiel within one again.
It could only be a redirect here. Nothing else that George really could have done. Oh, it got close though. I guess he just always wants that top right bins, no matter what side the goal gets scored on. They can only snipe it out. That's just the curse of Essex right now. They can only snipe the top bins, and it does not really matter which corner it is going to be in. K3 now, they haven't tasted that goal. Can they actually, did they like the taste enough to keep on moving on this time constant? A little bit awkward defense, throws it right back to Burn. A brilliant infield pass, but it's not quite making its way through. They continue the offense. Not enough to get actually some fruitful. Bump out of switch might just continue. No, Dooz clears it out.
Dooz did well there to buy some time for his teammates, and he'll have to buy a bit more, which he does. Switch fakes him out, plays the long game, and he's done it really well. Will he land on K3? Not quite. K3 trying to take it out, but low boost across the Kiel side at the minute, so they're going to have to look for something a bit more concrete to get it away. Dooz looking for maybe 2 off the sidewall, doesn't get it. K3 will get that touch out though, and he should read this off the ceiling, which he does. Infield it goes, time constant shoots. Again, not brilliant, but Switch has left himself in all sorts of trouble, and Dooz will punish. Kiel level with just under a minute to play.
Oh my. Well, that is a completely different game. All of a sudden, Kiel making the comeback win within about 30 seconds or so. 30 odd seconds, let's just put it that way. I didn't count perfectly. It doesn't really matter. Still, scoreline is 2-0 with a minute remaining. Lexino taking control. Not enough. George, can he outspeed Dooz actually in the shots? A little on the rotation out of Kiel. Double commit coming in. Dooz needs to clear it out after his teammate got demo. Dooz, come on, style on them a little bit, lads. Style on them a little bit. George with the save on it though. It's Dooz. He was incredibly close to styling on them.
Insanely well worked from Dooz to even get a shot on target out of that, and he gets the save, which could set Constant up. Never mind, the boost isn't there, but Dooz has got it off the post. K3's in. K3 scores. Essex, from looking in a commanding position here, have managed to fall apart on defense, and George just reversed out thinking he might get there, didn't manage it, and now Kiel have everything they need to take game 4.
I'm not too sure what happened on the Essex side. They were so incredibly solid at one moment, and now they've just kind of dropped the ball, but they still have 15 seconds to try and get something going. They're pressing the issue. The time constant with a massive boomer out. That valuable time all taken off the clock. K3 not quite getting on target. Dooz able to take control. The speed out of Kiel is something different from anything that we've seen before in this series. And Essex, they have to be scared, because if they can't get this goal to tie it back up and send it to overtime, K3 with that pivotal save, and Kiel indeed tie up the series.
This will be a repeat of game 1 there, where Essex got all caught up on each other at 0 seconds, but they managed to pinch it down the field. Switch put on a very decent shot, but K3 was ready for it. Seals out that game. Huge for Kiel. Now they're 2 apiece instead of 3-1 down. And we've got a proper series on our hands here.
Yeah, I'm incredibly looking forward to this. Now, at the start, I kind of thought, you know, Kiel 4-1, not really that many interesting bits. It has been a very interesting game, that substitute out of Kiel. Even though in this game it came in absolutely pivotal, could just throw off that rotation that tiny bit. They aren't as necessarily dominant as they usually are, or aren't as solid as they usually are in Essex. They're finding the cracks with perfection. And now we're all of a sudden having a game 6 at least.
Yeah, you know, both teams punishing mistakes really, really well at the minute. And both teams seem to only be going up in terms of their performance ceiling at the minute. So I'm very excited to see how we go into game 5 and beyond. We'll see Lexeno take this kickoff against Time Constant. Switch will actually be able to capitalise on this. Now, this kind of read is the one he would love, but he doesn't quite get it. George is up off the ceiling, it might go. Lexeno will make sure it does. That's awkward for the Kiel defence. George is there. Time Constant with a fantastic save to prevent an early goal.
Oh my, and Kiel, they're different form that they found in the latter end of the last game. They are very much continuing it. They're looking solid once again. Time Constant now down the other end. The Switch intercepting it. Dudes with a little bit of lousy touch out to the side. K3 missing the ball completely. Well, never mind that form that they found. They seem to have completely lost it for a hot second there. It's not led to a goal, but it's led to them having to suffer this offensive pressure out of Essex.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, what indeed is that?
Oh my goodness.
Lexeno capitalizes, but Kiel, what was going on here?
Dues nearly got the perfect scoop out, but it went more up than out, left K3 in a horrible position, and Time Constant wasn't back fast enough. Essex opened the scoring here, trying to get themselves up onto match point, but Kiel have plenty of time to pull it back.
Yeah, they still have plenty of time indeed, but oh, they have to not drop the ball like that in defense. That is absolutely ridiculous. Those kind of mistakes, they will not fly during the rest of this series, and also obviously not in this game, as we saw per example right there. Time Constant might have been looking for a pinch, but K3 didn't want to have 2 cars committed to one weak play that might have gotten intercepted as well. As K3 in defense should be able to take control, whips it up, but way too far out to the side, so forced to switch in an awkward predicament. And manages to find his way through. It's once again going back to that. A little bit of an awkward game. Time Constant not making the read. Maybe Dues can know his switch with the clear out.
Oh, I sympathise so much with Time Constant there. I thought he'd read that perfectly, and then it just failed to bounce off that lip at the bottom there. Unfortunate for them. Those are horrible ones to make, but they might end up ruining it here. Just over half the game to play. K3 looking to take Kiel up here. He's going to try and carry it as far as he can by himself. He gets as far as Switch, and that's in the Essex corner. Switch has recovered really well to put that over Dues. Time Constant next in. Lexeno gets a touch, won't get a second, will get a second. My apologies to him. Time Constant just misses out. Kiel really tightening the screw at the minute. K3, is he going to look for 2? He is going to look for 2, but Lexeno gets a crucial touch to keep it at bay.
Well, keep it at bay is all they managed to do right now. This Time Constant able to get a pass into K3. Lexeno once again with an early challenge. This time he gets completely outplayed. Switch still on the backboard, preventing K3 from having anything else out of that touch. Time Constant won't turn in time. I mean, he will turn in time to get absolutely done in by Switch. And George with a shot. Dues gets there early, managed to make it a 50 instead. And K3 on the sidewall getting a flip reset, I think it was. It's obviously not going to lead to anything. Using the ceilings to get it back down to the ground. Now K3, can he go on the counter? 60 boost in the tank. Off to the backward, he attempts to go. An early chance out of Lexeno will shut him down. They're not the offense done quite yet, as there's no follow-up touch from Kiel, and that is the offense done.
K3 looked very dangerous then, but just managed to get shut out by a combination of almost all the Essex defense put together. Time Constant off the ceiling. He might even get back to that, not before Switch does. Dues should be next to this. He might actually get beaten out. George up with limited boost. Lexeno also has no boost, but he made K3 think, and that's kept the ball in his own half here for a minute. Dues downfield it goes. K3's going to have to get a brilliant touch, which he does. Time Constant off the side wall. Probably a good thing he didn't get that second touch, as Kiel managed to take it into that corner. Dues with a laser of a shot, and that's a key bump. Time Constant should score, and he does. Just under 90 seconds left to play. Tiny mistakes from Essex being punished.
And that is exactly what this series is going to come down to. Those tiny mistakes. And, well, as we already said, this is shaping up to be an absolutely phenomenal series where tiny mistakes like that get instantly punished. Now, it might actually seem like a tiny mistake. It's just one double commit, but it was a pretty massive one. And that defensive side time comes on. Hello, he thought long enough about going for that. And that finally gets it out. It's just, well, from both sides, looking a little bit shaky.
Ooh, yeah, Switch just missing that. They're awkward ones when they come down that low. Dude's looking for two, won't get it. George is there, but Dude's managed to pump one out here. Switch just gets back into the rotation. Just in time to beat out K3. Does he have much boost? He's got enough. He'll kick that over. He'll kick that over everyone. Where's Keel gone? Twitch exploits the fact that Keel have booked a holiday and scores a practically empty net.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. That made sense on the defensive end. Sure, Keel, they would creep up incredibly close when your teammate was in the shadowing position. Why not? And then you are losing with 50 seconds remaining. Now you have to try and tie it back up. Dude's a little bit ambitious to think that Switch wasn't going to hit it, but you might as well have that cherry picker position. Time because they can't find that top pins. They've been trying to snipe it as well, but Essex, they've just done it a little bit better.
Yeah, they have. That was a really good chance. But just wide, as you say. K3 will put it under one, will put it under two. Pinch out off the post. Doos chooses not to go for it and then chooses to go for it at the same time as time constant. K3 into the corner, Switch back out the corner. K3 has their boost. Switch has the ball a long way down the field. That's a horrible bounce. Doos needs a read. Doos gets one. K3 might get there. K3 will not get there. The seconds are ticking down. Essex looking to put themselves onto match point. George Burke gets a touch. That might seal it. K3 saves it, but it might not be enough. The clock ticking down. Nobody there. Essex on match point here in this series.
And now, something that at the start I called you an absolute psycho for might just happen. Essex are on match point, and they could just take down Keel 4-2 if they win another one. I am mind blown by this. I don't really know what to say about it. Essex, they are doing absolutely amazing. They're playing out of their mind to shut down Keel in every single possible scenario. I wouldn't necessarily say that Keel is playing at their top level, but Essex, they are doing absolutely phenomenal to capitalize on every single mistake that Keel make.
Yeah, it's been brilliant. To be fair, both teams played pretty well in that game. It was just one mistake, again, really, from each side. One that got Keel's goal and one that got Essex's second goal from the overcommit. But it's those little mistakes that are going to cost them. And, again, as we get into this crucial game 6, you don't want to see Keel sort of turtle up and try not to make these mistakes because they need to play proactively because Essex will punish a team that sits back.
Yeah, I thoroughly hope so. Let's just have a banger of a game number 6 here. I know willy-nilly one mistake. Oh, that's going to end the game. And
that's going to go in.
There's the one mistake. There's the one mistake. He was already cracking under the pressure.
I mean, I'm not too sure what they were going to do about that. Doos perhaps just didn't need to jump, but it's a harsh one. Straight off the kickoff, sometimes there is very little you can do to prevent early goals, and Essex have got one here. Could be all they need to progress in this lower bracket.
Wow, what a universe that would be. Keel knocked out in a 4-2 fashion, not even taking it to game number 7. But Keel, they've been in this position before, and then actually 2 goals down. K3 backflipping out of it. And that is going to allow Switch to close the distance. George finds himself a completely open net. And well, that is something that I was going to say. Keel, they pulled it back from 2, and now they need to do it again.
Yeah, Doos just gets beaten out by Lexeno with a brilliant touch around the corner. George is not going to miss one of them, and just 25 seconds gone, and Essex already 2 to the good.
Well, let's see what Essex can bring up more. If they can bigger that safety net, or make that safety net bigger rather. Let's just have some proper English wording in here. K3 now looks for the angle, crossbar down and out. Oh my word, Keel, that is the difference right now, that they can't hit the shot. Right there is Essex. They have put 2 shots on target and they have converted 2 as well.
K3 just didn't quite get round to it. Lexeno into the corner it goes. K3 will take it clear. Looking to get a dribble going maybe, but he's lost control of that. Looks for the infield. Doos out to time constant, but not with enough conviction Switch read it well. Lexeno's not going to reach that. 2 up from Keel, both acting as a screen for K3, who I'm not sure was expecting to have the ball, and the offense doesn't blast again from the Krakens.
And an infield pass, George not quite able to reach it, though Time Constant exactly follows that up by not reaching the ball completely. 3.5 minutes, and Kiel, they just let this ball float for so incredibly long. 2 defenders back for Essex, so having incredible amounts of patience. Is it going to be a little bit too much though? K3 with a backflip, not going to help their case whatsoever. Switch is able to take over, rip a shot, Dooz is back for it, but it's looking panics on the Kiel side.
And they're just getting beaten to a lot of boosts here, particularly in the midfield. Essex seems to be controlling them really well. Lexeno gets the touch. K3's there. That was good from Time Constant. Forced, wasn't going to get the ball, but it forced Lexeno to make a decision about where he wanted to put the shot. Made life a lot easier for his teammate in goal. K3 gets a save. Credit to him for that. He'll take it. He'll take the ball further up if he can, though. Switch. Looks in field. No one there, and K3 does get a long clear. Maybe Kiel can turn this into something.
Well, maybe infield it goes once again. Dooz, the only thing he can do is drop it down. Not going to generate enough power. He had to fly backwards a little bit. Now K3 might be able to find Time Constant on the backward once again. Essex, they have to hold on in defense for 2.5 minutes. The goal is open. Dooz can't find the ground pinch necessary to actually put it in. And even if he got the ground pinch, it needed to be almost perfect to find his way in. It would have been very ambitious. Well, at that point, Kiel kind of need to go for things that are a little bit ambitious as a Switch. Oh, he is very much trying to do so as well.
Switch nothing if not ambitious. That was almost perfect from him. K3 looks in field. Time Constant the shot. Trying to find K3 again, perhaps on the backboard. Very nearly did. Switch looking for the ceiling shot. Gets 1 touch. Won't get a second. Time Constant backflips though, so Essex should be able to keep this in. George goes up high. Dooz is next to it. Dooz keeps us well in the air. He's not going to get back to it. Lexeno puts it away. This kind of neutral play, killing time, is exactly what Essex will want at this stage.
Yeah, they're just the ball in unthreatening position for either team. That is something that Essex will completely take, as they're almost, I want to say, on the verge. Infield pass, finding way to Dooz, and a Switch solidifies on defense to make sure that everything stays locked up tight. No ball trickling through there as K3 has another go. Lexeno stands in the way once again, and Kiel, they're having the opportunities, but they're not having the accuracy.
Brilliant play from them, to be fair, and Switch did brilliantly on defense, but that's not as brilliant on defense, and Lexeno will come in and punish. 3 goals in just over 70 seconds is almost insurmountable here.
I don't think it's going to be possible out of Kiel. I think Essex have just built up enough of a safety net to actually take this home in a 4-2 fashion and knock Kiel out of the EURC. There's still 1 minute left to play, so we're going to have to see whether that actually becomes truth later on. That would be a upset and a half. K3, which gets in the way. Every single shot is getting blocked by the Essex side, though.
Been lauding Switch for all his offensive prowess most of this series, but his defense in this crucial Game 6 has been absolutely brilliant and, kept this confident from Essex at times. I think if he wasn't positioned as well as he has been this game, Kiel could be within 1 goal at this point, but he's done brilliantly. George also putting in a shift here. Switch on the goal line, making the save. 30 seconds to go. Really looking like Kiel needs something now or never.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be never, or at least, well, never as in this EURC is not going to happen for them anymore. It very much seems as if they got knocked out. 3 goals in 15 seconds, well, theoretically possible, realistically not going to happen. And Essex, they've just taken down Kiel Krakens, managed to completely pull them across the land, completely suffocate them under the pressure every single time. The Kiel Krakens, they can go home and try and go back to taking down ships because they're not taking down the Blades.
They are not. They are more than ready to leave. Both the Kiel players, just Time Constant left here as the seconds tick down. They know the score, both figuratively and literally. Switch maybe going to get one for the road. No, Time Constant will drop that off the ceiling, but like you say, Kiel perhaps expected to win that series. Essex came out swinging and proved me right.
No, that is the most crazy part about this entire time. I mean, sometimes when everybody is thinking wrong, or when everybody has the same thought, you just might be the one with absolute brilliance. And, well, that's both Essex and a UH. Honestly, that is impressive from both sides.
Well, thank you very much, firstly. I think, it's got to be said, I think, I'm sure people have mentioned it on various streams before, but Kiel this season has been incredibly harsh for them. At their starting capacity, they are easily a top 3-4 team in the UK, and the fact that, Poddy's had to move, we've had Time Constant being unable to make certain days throughout domestic and European matches, so it's been very, very harsh for them. They'll feel like they perhaps could have and should have got a bit further, but all credit to Essex, who, had a team that was harder than the one that took Bournemouth to Game 7 and yet managed to dispatch it well. So really good news for them. They'll be progressing in this lower bracket, but we'll be progressing as well. We'll go for a very, very quick break, and then we shall join Nualeik on the panel once again to discuss our next match.
I'm on my own, broken and alone. I feel the rain crashing down. All around this empty town, we're searching for the lost and found. But you don't care, you're unaware. Keep moving like the scars aren't even there. It's in the air, like a blazing flare. Just stare, cause the flames will burn us. I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. I used to kiss your head when you cried for me. Hold your hand while the pain was over. Keep you warm by the roaring sea. You meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. My darling dear, you're never here. When I'm in pain, you hide and disappear. Like shadows in the atmosphere, charting the stratosphere. Yeah. I prayed for you and kept you near, in hopes you'd chase away my fears. I'm on my own, you made it so, and now I'm chasing nightmares too. I used to run with you through the great big leaves, laugh at you when you laugh at me. Hope for us because I believe the home was just you and me. I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, I'm gonna do this on my own. No point in blaming you, you did not know. Oh, I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, I'm gonna do this on my own. No point in blaming you, you did not know. Oh, oh, I'm gonna do this on my own. No point in blaming you, you did not know. Oh, I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. turn toward me and look so weak. I've never seen you with such tired eyes. And everything we said we'd be, we just traded for a suit coat and a tie. And underneath the rows of trees, I will see you where the ocean meets the sky. Under your toes, the fire grows. You are ready for a different kind of life. You're shining forward, the wind is cold. You must return to the wild. You're shining forward, the wind is cold. You must return to the wild. Follow me down, there's no one around. Lay back and take your socks and shoes right off. That natural light is so damn polite, can make you feel just like you were young again. Standing underneath the rows of trees, I can see where the ocean meets the sky. Under our clothes, a fire grows. We are ready for this life of running wild. We're running wild. Underneath the rows of trees, I will see you where the ocean meets the sky. Under your toes, the fire grows. You are ready for a different kind of life. Shining forward, the wind is cold. You must return to the wild. Shining forward, the wind is cold. You must return to the wild.
And welcome back to the desk for the EURC playoffs, where we have just watched, just being a relative term in this case, Kiel Krakens lose out to Essex Blades and a bit of an upset. And Atch, you got your prediction right, but it's your prediction, off stream that's gone wrong. Listen, I had a look at your prediction sheet, and have to say it is, I think, a little bit of an upset in that one.
You didn't see that. Let me just give me 10 seconds to answer your question while I just do a rapid fire change.
Sure, smart.
No, I mean, I think even I'll admit that was a very rogue prediction from me, but Essex played really well. Kiel, just blighted again by the lack of first team players available. So unfortunate for them, but Essex did really, really well.
Yeah, they absolutely did. But we are going to speedrun this panel as we hope to get into this 100%. Next game quicker rather than later. So Dennis, listen, it's two Dutch teams. It's Mojitos versus Tilburg United. These teams should surely both know each other well from their home league.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we are seeing, of course, Tilburg from the south of the Netherlands playing against Groningen from the north of the Netherlands. So a little bit of a battle there between the north of the Netherlands against the south of the Netherlands. Of course, in the loser round 2. So, of course, there can only progress one Dutch team here. One of these teams, of course, will progress to the loser round 3. Another one will be eliminated. So it's going to be really interesting to see these teams playing against each other. Well, of course, we have seen Groningen play very, very well in their group, in Group C. Actually being top of the Group C, but then in the end, in the upper round 1, they got beat with a 4-2 against the Beckenbauer. So not really the best result from them, but from Tilburg, they came here in the lower round 1, not having the best result in league play in group stage, but still clean sweeping the TOD Apes, also going here to the loser round 2. So it can be a really interesting series.
It absolutely can be. Tilburg still the only team with a clean sweep in this playoff stage, if it did have to be against an Irish team, unfortunately. And I will throw just a quick correction in here, because there are two Groningen teams still in the tournament, so it can be confusing at times. This is not the Groningen Martinis, who were top of Group C. This is Groningen Mojitos, who were actually third in Group D. But, as you said, they've still been looking strong. I don't think that's unfair to say anyway. And so we're going to move quickly into predictions. I'm going to go first. I'm going to say that, I do think Groningen have it in them to take this series down. They have looked like the stronger of these two teams to me throughout the day. I'm going to throw it over to Atch for the follow-up prediction to that one.
This is a very difficult one for me. I'm tempted to try and double down on my fantastically rogue prediction from last time, but I don't think that would be the way to go. I do think either team could definitely win this, but I've got to go with Tilburg for me. They played really, really well throughout the group stage. I think they will have what it takes here. It might take a while, but I think they'll end up victorious.
Absolutely, and that means that Dennis, the tiebreaker is for you.
Well, I mean, I have to go with Tilburg as well. They've been phenomenal. In the loser round 1, clean sweeping over the TOD Apes is something you don't really see often. Those clean sweeps already early on in the loser bracket. So definitely, I can see them having a lot of momentum going into this loser round 2, and possibly taking down the favorites here of Groningen.
Yeah, I don't think that's unfair to say at all. Tilburg, they were 5th in their group, but they had some close matches. They really scrapped it out with the teams around them. They seem to be playing to the level of their opponents so far in this tournament. So it's going to be an exciting match no matter what happens. The desk thinks Tilburg have it in them to take this series down, knock one of the Groningen teams out of the tournament. And we're going to leave it to you boys on the cast to take us way through the series.
Right. Let's give this a bash, shall we? We are split, but we will survive. 2 Dutch teams here. Only one of them will survive. I think this series could go quite a long way, though, depending on, obviously, again, it's just so much about who shows up on the night. But we saw, even with 2 teams that you might think are mismatched like Essex and Kiel, it can just be about who's playing well and who can perform. So as we get into this game 1, we'll be looking to see who's coming out strong and who's looking a little shaky.
Yeah, definitely. And also, it's being a Dutchman and seeing at least one Dutch team here, eliminating from the tournament. Of course, 2 Dutch teams, only one can be the winner. But I see the teams are lining up here on the pitch. We see Groningen here on the pitch against Tilburg. So let's bring it away, shall we?
Why not? Why not indeed? So best of 7 all the way, of course. So game 1, you can use as a bit more of a feeler than you might want to in just a standard best of 5. Schmickelbeer can take that into the corner. He does. He doesn't really have that much boost. So out it comes again. There it goes. That's a better clear out from Tom. Flux. He's got it, but not far enough. Is Tom going to get back to that? Not before it's cleared away by input. Elko down the side. Schmickelbeer should be there. And, end-to-end stuff in the first 30 seconds, but nothing overly threatening from either side.
Now just, back and forth a little bit, feeling each other out here in this game number 1. Of course, a very long series, a best of 7, not just a best of 5. So, a lot of games to be played. In this game number 1 is always just a little bit feeling out how the opposition is going to play, but that's already a great save from King Kong. In the follow-up, it comes off the crossbar, but early pressure already coming out of the Groningen side.
Yeah, the Mojitos here to play at the minute. They've had 2 decent opportunities. That shot perhaps could have gone in, but they won't regret it too much. Plenty of time left on the clock. Now Elko has to make a dangerous clear across his own goal line, which he does. Flux, down it goes. And Elko thinks about it, decides against it, leaves it for Input, who probably didn't want to jump as strange as that one, but it's what he got. Tom, it's a great infield pass, but Schmickelbein not there to receive it, so we'll see Flux launch it down to Elko. Great passing, but shooting not quite there. 90 seconds on the clock, and like you say, Mojito's having most of the pressure, but none of the output just yet.
Yeah, goalless game in the first 1.5 minutes of this game. Number 1, we have seen a lot of pressure coming out of the Groningen side, but they couldn't really score out of that. Now they're a little bit in defense, need to get out of it. They do indeed. Now we see King Kong try to get some pressure on the Groningen side. They really need to find that kind of pressure because, of course, Groningen, they just had some offenses and, right now they haven't scored any of those offenses. But if it keeps like that, at some point Groningen, they will just score. They will capitalize on just, Tilburg being stuck in defense. And, I think, Tilburg, all they need to do is just come a little bit in offense, just like they're doing right now, fire a few shots on net. But so far, still a goalless game, and it's really an interesting game. A lot of offenses from both sides, actually. And now Groningen, again, in the offense, trying to make something, but again, they can't find the net at all.
No, it's one that they might want back, to be fair to them. There was empty real estate in that goal to aim at, just couldn't quite find it. Flux goes high. Elko's jumped for that, optimistic to say the least, but he manages to get back without too much damage done. The offense looks like it could continue. Input does really, really well, makes a shot, but Schmickelbein has to save. Flux thinks about it, leaves it for Elko. Again, ball gone high onto the backboard. Elko could be first back to this, but actually King Kong manages to clear it down. Schmickelbein off the ceiling. This is better. King Kong gets a interesting fake, is what I'll go with. Tom, ooh, he might have had more. That's a huge open net whiff from Schmickelbein, who perhaps didn't expect the ball to come to him, but almost everything but the finish from both sides at the minute.
Yeah, that was completely open for Schmickelbein. He just had it all in his hands. But now on the other side, it comes off the post. King Kong's still able to save it, but so many offenses in this game already. Still a goalless game, really. Both teams are kind of warming up with the accuracy so far, really. Maybe a little bit of nerves. Now we see an air dribble almost getting saved. Elko finally getting the first goal of the series. That's a great way to start it off.
It is. Good things come to those who wait, and Elko waited long enough to get that touch off the nose. From Tom's perspective, clear, slots it in off the crossbar. Just about 100 seconds left in this game number 1. The Mojitos have the lead, but it's not a lead I don't think they'll be feeling particularly confident with, particularly given how well Tilburg have pressed when they needed to, and Tom's pressing very well. Scoring was a pressing issue for them, but they've managed to get it back in with just 7 seconds to go. Goals like London buses in this game number 1.
Yeah, the equalizer there, and well, completely deserved, to be honest. It has been a really back and forth game. Like, I can't say, Tilburg, they haven't been the dominant side, but also Groningen, they aren't really that dominant side like we maybe would have expected, of course. Did quite well in league play, but then, in the upper bracket, didn't really play quite well, dropping down to a loser bracket. But of course, Tilburg with a lot of momentum coming out of the loser bracket won. Well, of course, they cleaned the TUD Apes, so, they have a lot of momentum. But, so far, it's all equalized here. 1 minute, 30 seconds to go. And, it can go anyway. It's really, this series is only game number 1 in this best of 7 series. It can go anyway. We've said this at the beginning of the series already. But it's so back and forth. Now see a firing shot. Schmickelbein gets the second for Tilburg. And now Tilburg actually are in the lead.
This was less than stellar defensive work, I think it's fair to say, from the Mojitos. Input just caught a bit flat-tired on his own near post. Couldn't get the flick out of the goal line. So a minute to play in this game number 1. And like you say, Tilburg in the lead. Tom looking to force the issue here, going over the top if he can. Input makes the save, does really, really well. And there, in it goes from Schmickelbein, straight infield. King Kong's up. Schmickelbein has limited boost, but has got a touch off the backboard. Who's next to it? Input will be clear. Could be followed up. It will be followed up in the end by Flux, who's managed to get it out and over. This is a bit dangerous. Schmickelbein has to think about this. Gets a brilliant touch off to his corner. Solved a lot of problems there for Tilburg in one clean touch.
Well, only 30 seconds left, and really the Mojitos, the Groningen Mojitos, they need to push up further because, of course, they don't want to lose game number 1. You know, if you lose game number 1, it already, you know, it is still best of 7 series, but it's still, you know, a little bit of a mental break. You're going into game number 2, and right now it really looks like Groningen, they're on the losing end, and they are going to lose this game number 1 unless they can score. But then it is Tilburg banging the ball to the other side, looking like they're closing out this game number 1. You know, a very, very passive style. Now it will be Tom trying to drop the ball down. Still, the ball is up. Groningen still trying to find the equalizer, but it will not happen as Tilburg will win this game number 1. And well, they fought back really, really well because, of course, they were down with 1 goal, but in the end won this game still with 2-1.
Yeah, it was good. It was good from them. It was good from both sides, to be fair. I don't really feel either side made many mistakes on the defense. It was perhaps, if anything, the offense that was letting sides down at times. They were just sort of, you know, taking a bit too long to find their final product, get the shot in, not quite managing it at times, but, you know, Tilburg managed to do it in the end. It's 6 shots across the whole 5 minutes, not, you know, a huge amount from them, but it was enough to get the job done. And as we go into this game number 2, we'll have to see them, you know, try again to produce something similar, but perhaps, you know, maybe a little bit more desire from both sides at the minute. We've seen them both sort of sit back a little bit, be quite reluctant to commit multiple people onto the same offense. So hopefully, you know, for the couch viewers like us at home, we want to see some fireworks coming into game 2.
Definitely, we want to see some fireworks. But also, you know, in defense from Groningen, it could have been better. The game number 1, you know, some simple mistakes really led to the goals from for Tilburg. You know, kind of, you know, open net. Well, we have actually seen some clear open net in game number 1 not being scored. So maybe that was a little bit of warm-up from both sides actually. But you know, in this game number 2, definitely the Groningen's defense need to be much more on point than in game number 1. Now they're getting tested already. Flux needs to get an important save. He does indeed. Again, not the best touch there in the Groningen defense, but still getting cleared out by Flux. Flux with the input pass actually. Can't be done with a lot there, but that was nearly a very good redirect. Tom tries to just clear it out, but already early start there from Groningen, really trying to get the first goal of this game number 2. But last game we have seen them, you know, struggling a lot with getting the first goal of the game.
Again, there they looked like they had something, and then just Elko got an interesting touch off the side, and then had the ball cracked into him by his own on-rushing teammate, and basically cleared it away. Flux jumped probably a bit earlier for that than he might have needed to. Schmickelbeer into the corner it goes. Input will clear it away, but there should be a Tilburg player there. The Tilburg player there is Tom. That goes up, and again, up more than out from the Mojitos at the minute. Schmickelbeer lofts that one up more than out as well, but King Kong will get there in time, so not going to get back to that in a hurry, although no one's challenging him in a hurry either. So Tom takes it over, the shot is in, and again, just a lot of time afforded for Tilburg there, which they will take full advantage of.
Yeah, definitely. We have seen this Tom, you know, getting the ball up to the back ball. Schmickelbeer, just, you know, clean shot for him. No one up from the defense of the Groningen Mojitos. So in the end, you know, really easy shot, to be honest. I mean, still well placed by Schmickelbeer, still decent power behind it, but definitely someone should have been up there from Groningen, and you just can't afford these goals against you. Of course, you're on the verge of, you know, getting eliminated here in the EURC. You've came so far, and now, you know, those defensive mistakes, little bit rookie mistakes, to be honest. No one being up for their area, for example. Now coming in, it gets cleared out, but really Groningen under the pressure a lot by Tilburg.
Yeah, they really are, and I mean, that touch was frightening, to say the least. That touch is a lot more frightening. Flux, that's a heartbreaker for him. Gets caught just in the wrong place. I'm really not sure there's much he could have done about that. Once he gets that backflip, tries to get out of the way, he just gets into the way. Very, very harsh for him, but Tilburg will take it with a smile on their face. And with just over 100 seconds played in this game, they're 2 to the good.
Yeah, that's definitely, you know, the worst touch you could have made there. You know, with the backflip, he tried to avoid the ball, but in the end, it still gets in. That's really unfortunate there from the Groningen's defense. Not much you could do there, to be honest, from the Groningen defender. But you know, definitely Tilburg, like you said, they just take it. And, you know, of course, they already won game number 1, trying to win this game number 2 as well. And, of course, when you're 2 games up in this best of 7, then, you know, you have a big advantage. Everything you're going to need to do now is trying to get some offensive pressure on the Tilburg side, because it doesn't look bright for them. They've been under pressure like all game in this game number 2. Well, in game number 1, it was really even. It was really back and forth. But really, this game, it has been all Tilburg, to be honest. They haven't really seen Groningen in the offense. Now maybe the first time, but it gets cleared out. It gets defended away. And already, it's on the other side. So really, Tilburg are dealing really, really well with the Groningen offenses. You know, if Groningen are in the offense, then this looks like no, but it is. Schmickelbeer will just get it in. We'll get the third straight on half time.
made a fantastic touch here. Look at that. Just flicks it round the last defender. Schmickelbeyer rudely comes in and steals it, in my opinion. But I suppose first come, first serve in the goals department for Tilburg. Schmickelbeyer has two himself, so he'll know that more than most. King Kong gets it past again. Last man back has to rush. Schmickelbeyer's pre-jumped that. Nearly got it perfectly. King Kong up. Off the left wall it goes, and that's an awkward one. Elko makes the read, but Flux has to chase it perhaps a bit more than he'd like. Looks for the dunk. Doesn't get it. Ball's on the right side now. That's a great infield pass. If you're a Mojitos fan, you want to see more of that. But again, Tilburg just soaking up that pressure so well.
Yeah, definitely. They're really dealing well with the pressure from Groningen, to be honest. Tilburg, doing really well in the offense and also in defense. And that's, of course, why they're leading now with 3 goals to 0. It really doesn't look bright for Groningen because, of course, they would be 2 games down if they lose this one. And like I've already mentioned, in best of 7 series, you don't want to be 2 games down because it is a big advantage. Oh, that's a great shot from Tom. And now the offensive capabilities from Tilburg are showing off in this game number 2.
Oh my goodness, Tilburg are just playing for kicks at this point. Input. Perhaps the positioning favoured the shot in the end because the shot wasn't as good as the passing from Tilburg, but fortunately Input had left a bit of a gap at his own back post, which Tom managed to find, and 4 goals now would probably seal game number 2 in favour of Tilburg unless the Mojitos can get something turned around incredibly quickly.
So, yeah, I mean, Tilburg, we've just seen that 4th goal. That's really just showing what Tilburg can do, in the offense and also in defense, Groningen, they can't get past the Tilburg's defense. Well, very early on in game number 1, they have been passed in defense, but now in this game number 2, no danger at all. They're dealing with the offenses of Groningen really well, and in the offense, Tilburg themselves, they're just really doing well as well. But this is just a defensive mistake there from the Groningen player, missing the ball completely, leaving an all-open shot for Tom. And Tom will definitely take it and will get 5 on scoreboard for Tilburg.
Tom, perhaps a little element of an inadvertent fake from him. Had no boost, was never going to get to the ball as fast as Elko thought he might. But that's 7 unanswered goals across the last 2 games for Tilburg now in succession, which is not a stat line that the Mojitos will love to see. There's one back, is it? In typical fashion for a team under the weather, it's going to bounce cruelly off the crossbar. Great touchdown from Tom. King Kong looking to chase it. Doesn't need to press too hard, but I mean, Tilburg have very little to lose at this point. Input making all sorts of trouble for his own team there. Tom, in it goes. King Kong just looking for something to get a touch on it. Doesn't quite manage it, but my goodness, Tilburg really firing on all cylinders now.
Yeah, maybe they just needed that, warm-up in game number 1. But they won it either way. But now, well, last game they won it with 1 goal deficit. But right now we are seeing a 6 goal deficit. No goals at all scored by Groningen. And this is just, domination at this point in game number 2. 6 goals for Tilburg. Groningen can't say anything in this game number 2. And it's just all been Tilburg in this game number 2.
Yeah, it's harsh. It's harsh. It's been a bit brutal for the Mojitos here. I think perhaps, their heads went down, particularly after that Flux inadvertent own goal. Really harsh for them to have to deal with. And, once you start feeling like you've lost your place in a game, it's very quick to snowball out of control. Tom proving my point, making it 7 to the good for Tilburg. Must admit, can't recall a single game scoreline like that very often in this EURC.
5 goals for Tom alone in this game number 2.
Well,
and
could have had 6 if Schmickelbeyer hadn't stolen his flick for their 3rd. So he's done very well.
Yeah, he's done incredibly well in this game number 2. Well, it just shows, how good Tom can be, and we've seen it in game number 1. We have seen, Schmickelbeyer, be playing really well as well. And I think really the stand-up players for Tilburg, really Schmickelbeyer and Tom, those 2 players are really players that Groningen need to watch out for in the upcoming games. We are seeing 14 shots against 1. And that just shows this game 7-0. You don't see it often. You just mentioned, and Tilburg, it just shows, we've clean swept round number 1, and we're about to do the same in round number 2, beating the other Dutchies out of this tournament, and we're gonna see, can they do it? Well, if they keep playing like this, and Groningen keep playing like this as well, then definitely I can see a clean sweep happening as well here.
Yeah, Tilburg seems to have come out with a point to prove here. I hope for the sake of obviously just us mainly and people watching at home and after an enjoyable series that Mojitos just kind of decided to go next at about 3 or 4. I think it's fair to say that, there comes a point, they were 4-0 down maybe a minute and a half, I think, to go on the clock, you sort of go, okay, well, we could really try and probably still not get anywhere. So let's just move and go next. So we'll see if they do have it in them to go next. They, one thing I think they do need to work on, their clears have been less than stellar. I think it's where a lot of their problems have been coming from. They get, the ball with, obviously some pressure, but relatively little in terms of on-rushing players from Tilburg, and yet the ball's still going more up than out, giving Tilburg time to cement the boost control, keep the ball in the right side, and score goals like they did in that game. So you're looking to see maybe some more link-up plays, two-touch clears coming out of this Mojito side, but really, I don't think, and this could be the greatest curse of all time, but I don't think it can go much more poorly than it did in Game 2 for the boys in red here.
Well, everything is possible in Rocket League, but that seems very unlikely. Definitely if Groningen are in the offense right now, trying to score the first one in game number 3. Revived Groningen maybe, but now it is Tilburg in the offense trying to get it into the open now, but it's just getting cleared up by the Groningen defense. But definitely already, an offense from Groningen, which is good to see. I think they already have more shots in the first 30 seconds of this game in the entirety of game number 2. So that already says something. And maybe it is just a revived Groningen right now. Of course, we needed to see another Groningen, because they just need to play different than in game number 2, that's for certain. If you lose a game with 7-0, then something needs to change, and I hope for them that they figured out what to do else and what to change, because right now we're seeing a little bit of a better Groningen side. They're still a little bit under pressure for Tilburg, but definitely they're getting out much easier than in game number 2. But if Tilburg is still in the offense, keep firing the shots, and definitely it can still be very dangerous for the Groningen side.
Yeah, 100%, but I do really like to see from them their physical play then nearly opened the scoring with a crucial bump on I think it was King Kong trying to make his clear, nearly got clattered away from it by, I think it was Elko rushing up the field to get a doink, but it was, the right idea, even if it didn't come off, the fact that they went for it is promising in itself, and that's less promising. What a touch from King Kong, by the way, to manage to just speed that up without clattering it over the bar, but a big gap in the middle of the defense for the Mojitos again. King Kong will capitalize, and Tilburg have the lead again.
I mean, it is a really good shot and a really good touch from King Kong, but yeah, you have to question, where are the defenders of Groningen? Someone needs to be in goal there, and I think if someone would have been in goal, just proper rotation, then, I think that definitely would have been a save. It wasn't, the best placed shot, which is really hard from that angle, but, in the end, still a defender of Groningen could have saved that ball out, and, in the end, those little mistakes, they will just cost you the game sometimes. We've seen it in game number 1, and we might be seeing the same here in game number 3. Of course, in game number 2, it was completely dominated by Tilburg. But, in this game, and also last game, it can be, dead even. And we can maybe see a Groningen side that's just playing a lot better than in game number 2. So definitely, there's still hope for the Groningen side, but they just need to get rid of those simple mistakes in defense.
100%, and those bumps, they're coming through quite well from them. They seem to do another one in there, didn't come to much, and that might not be very good for them. That's a horrible double touch on the double commit. Now, input, almost no boost to his name, will get a touch out off the corner actually, a free shot for Elko, who actually placed that really well, but Tom was more than equal to it. Like you say, the fact that these Mojito players are now beginning to properly have some decent offensive drives is promising, but you've got to think, if they go 3-0 down in a best of 7, that's a huge mountain to climb.
Yeah, definitely, of course, after being 7 goals down in game number 2, you really want to win this one. If you don't, then of course it is match point for Tilburg, and then that is a really long journey. Then the only way to survive is making a reverse sweep. Well, seems only more and more likely if Tom scores this one again. Tom the man gets a second for Tilburg, and now it is going to be a really hard task. Now 2 minutes to go, and Tilburg again with a lead of 2 goals.
Yeah, Tilburg, really, really controlling at the minute. That is now 11 straight goals on the trot across the last 3 games, without the Mojitos even notching at all, which, to be fair, the 7-goal game's something of an anomaly. The Mojitos done really well here, I think, to bring it back, particularly, given the context of what happened to them in the game before. And they're still trying to put on some offense here, but as time ticks down, Tilburg bringing it away, and the confidence there, look at that. 2 of them up for the aerial play, clearly feeling good about themselves. Flux into the corner, might get it out the corner, doesn't quite manage it. Now, Elko, plenty of boost, he's probably put that a little high, but forces a double commit from Tilburg, which, thankfully for a Tilburg fan, looks to be going unpunished.
Yeah, I mean, you have to question, Tilburg. What have they done in group stage? They're playing so well right now, and
Yeah.
almost you can't spot any mistakes from them, but still, they ended up in 5th place, only just snatching into playoffs. I don't know what happened there in group stage. I mean, they made it, and that's all that counts, but, definitely, they're proving, right, they should be in playoffs. They're playing so good, but, of course, in Group A, you see Berlin Phoenix, probably, the top favorites of the EURC in this season.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a hard group, but still, 5th place, you would have expected better from a team like this. 47 seconds to go, 2 goals up against Groningen, of course, trying to get this game 3 on their end as well. And that would mean that they are, I think, 7 games undefeated in playoffs. Yeah, 7 games undefeated in playoffs, and that's just miraculously very well from them. Of course, starting in the loser bracket, trying to make a loser bracket run, and Groningen trying to deny it, but they can't do anything in this series. They can't create any offenses. They can't get the ball past the defense of Tilburg, and it's really been the story of this series. I think since game number 2 or since game number 1, Groningen haven't scored any single goal, and if they can't score right now, then it's gonna keep the same in game number 3.
It is, and I think, there you go, look at this, Tom gets so much time again, the placement is beautiful, and it's a soul-crushing goal to concede there if your Mojitos just trying to maybe even run the clock down. But a shot into the top left. Tilburg, they were one of those teams stuck on that crazy record tie-breaking in Group A. They came out at the bottom having lost to both York and Kiel, but they're looking like, perhaps they might go further than either of those two teams. In fact, I think if they win this, they will have gone further than both of them.
Yeah, I mean, we will say, 3 goals up here, and of course 3 games up as well. And after question, Tom, he has been phenomenal. We've just seen him making that goal, and I love how he did it. He just break just in front of the ball, or like just behind the ball, just placed his car a little bit to the right, so he could perfectly snatch that top corner. And that's really the quality of a player like Tom. 3 shots, 2 goals. He's so clinical in front of the opponent's net, and I think Groningen, they should be knowing this by now. If Tom has a free shot, then it it can be so dangerous, just like that last goal where Tom just got the top pins, the top corner so easily. Nothing the defender could do, just snatched on the ground. And Tilburg, it just shows they're so well as a team as well. You have the individual players who are playing just really well on their own as well. So 3 games up, and Groningen, they have a lot of stuff to do. I've said this already, but now, of course, you don't want to be 2 games down. But now 3 games down, what does Groningen need to do here to, maybe make a reverse sweep happen?
It's very hard for me to say. I think maybe it's, it's DDoSing Tilburg players is my suggestion, perhaps. It's been, I don't think, with the exception of, perhaps a little bit of a collapse in game number 2, I don't think Groningen have played badly. It's just that Tilburg have played really well. They've been smothering any offense before it even gets a chance, covering the midfield really well, making sure that there's plenty of space for them to do that. Tilburg looking to start on the front foot again here. Schmickel there, looking to get a touch. He's got no boost, but that's not going to stop him. Again, 2. These double commits are costing Mojitos, it must be said. Tom pops it high. He's going to look for another touch. He's going to get a gift of another touch here. Now, it doesn't have much boost. Input didn't know that. He saved it well. King Kong. Now the double commit. Flux cuts across there to make the save, but it was a good enough clear. Schmickel there doesn't get the touch quite right. Tom, in it goes. Input clears it long. That's a great clear. Will relieve a lot of pressure, but it's all Tilburg again here at the start of game 4.
Yeah, once again, it has been just Tilburg trying to put some offense in, trying to create a goal like air dribbles here from the air dribbles, but doesn't quite happen yet. We have seen 2 already trying to go for some style maybe in this game number 4, but maybe just a single shot works as well. Well, we have seen 7 goals in 2 games from Tom. Well, make that 8 goals in 3 games, because Tom, he doesn't stop where he just, he continues where he just stopped last game, making goals. And, Tom, once again, on the score sheet, a great shot from him. Still, again, the defense of Groningen not quite there. Maybe that shot could have been saved, but nonetheless, Tom, once again on the score sheet, he has been phenomenal in this series.
He has. All of the Tilburg players have been playing really well. Schmickelbeer's going to be up for that. He might get back to this, not quite. Flux is there. Flux has no boost though, so King Kong gets a free touch off the backboard. Elko playing it slow. He had time. It was a perfectly reasonable thing to do. Schmickelbeer's up incredibly quickly to challenge him. Off the ceiling it goes. Flux pushing in for that corner boost. That'll set them up for a bit of more prolonged pressure, but that's a great clear from Tom. Elko up high. Schmickelbeer's in an awkward spot here. Flux has gets the touch. Input has 12 boost, and he's just popped it high for no reason. King Kong just about manages to beat Schmickel there to clearing that ball away. Off the crossbar, and King Kong doesn't quite get the touch he wanted. Pops it into his own net, and Mojitos, even though they've broken the scoring, it's still a Tilburg player popping in the goal.
Oh yeah, and they will be just so happy they finally found themselves a goal, because, well, of course in game 2, game number 3, and until here in game number 4, they couldn't find any single shot in between the targets to make that important goal for them. But, you know, finally they have made a goal here. Maybe that could be, you know, the revivement here of Groningen. Well, I wanted to say that, but King Kong straight away gets the second, puts down the deficit again, 2-1 goal to Tilburg. And, well, you know, I was saying Groningen, they might have some hope here, but Tilburg instantly says, nope, we just make another goal, and they're in the lead again.
They are, and it wasn't a very pretty goal to concede if you're Mojitos either. They just sort of left the net largely unattended, and, you know, it was well capitalised upon by Tilburg, but it was a kind of goal that you'd expect them to score more often than not. Now, Groningen left a chase again. They've got plenty of time, so they don't need to panic just yet, but they do need to keep it tight on defence and try and just wait for an opportunity if there's going to be one at all. Schmickelbear will turn on this. He actually leaves it for Tom, or maybe he just missed it, but Tom's got it nonetheless. He's going to go for a ground pinch here, gets it off the post, Input's in all sorts of trouble, but he manages to make a great save, actually. Well done to him there. He's done brilliantly. Flux, perhaps looking for Input. Oh no, it's Elko down the side, just couldn't make contact. Flux up again, but King Kong has to clear. It's looking better. It's looking much better. Flux does manage to force it through. He's leveled them again here. The Mojitos at least making a fight out of this game 4.
Yeah, definitely. You know, great infield pass coming here from the Groningen side. Flux in the end, you know, finishing the ball off. It still got a touch from the defender of Tilburg, but it does not matter because it has been equalized once again in this game number 4. And Groningen really fighting back, really going for the reverse sweep. They don't want to be out as of yet, and of course it is really hard to beat this Tilburg side, but you know, of course, if you can't beat them, then of course you will be out of this tournament, so you need to do something, at least beat them. Well, this is not what you should be doing. King Kong will have the easiest goal of his life as all the players of Groningen will kind of falling apart in defense.
Input, I don't know. Maybe I see what he was trying to do, trying to get the daintiest of touches down to get the clear away, but it was so risky, and in the end he just decided not to touch it at all, because I think any touch he would have got would have just scored it, and he's going. Mikkelbear is on fire. That's just a fantastic goal. Tilburg, quick as you like, get 2 on the trot, and they now have a 4-2 lead here in what could be the last game of this series.
Yeah, that second touch from Smikkelbeer, that was just the one that finished it off. And, you know, I think if he didn't have that second touch, it would have been saved. The corner straight from the kick of trying to get that third goal for them and trying to put down the deficit to 1 again. But, you know, it has really been, you know, Smikkelbeer and Tom in the offense. Just phenomenal. Definitely Tom, but also Smikkelbeer. He shows what he can do. I've seen air dribble coming out of Elko, trying to get a dunk as well on the defender, but can't quite get it though. And really, the time is the biggest enemy now for Groningen, because they of course need to win this game, because otherwise they will be out with a clean sweep. It will be Tilburg, you know, undefeated in playoffs, which is, you know, phenomenal. But you know, you can see why they're playing so well with each other, and you know, beating a team like Groningen here with already 3 games. Maybe it's going to be 4 if in the upcoming 1.5 minutes Groningen can score at least twice. Then, you know, of course Tilburg will get yet another clean sweep. Well, that's a great touch there by Flux, but can't quite get it past the defender. But really, the time is ticking, like I've already said. Groningen, they need to push forward as soon as they can. But right now, it will be 5-0. It will be a great save by Groningen. But really, they need to get in offense instead of defense.
Tilburg smothering still, not letting up. Even though they have that 2-goal lead, a lot of teams might sit back. Tilburg don't know what that means. Schmickel there hits it in off the ceiling. Tom probably could have gone for that, but doesn't matter too much. A minute left. It's, you know, all really the ball is firmly in the Mojitos' court in terms of pushing the system here, making plays, trying to make things happen. Tilburg, all they need to do is just keep the ball in this side. The touches don't have to be pretty, they don't have to be connected, they just have to be hard and far away. Schmickelbear will be looking to make one of them now. He's actually chosen to leave it. This could actually cost him. Not quite. Tom manages to get a clear, and he's lifted it over there. That's a brilliant piece of defensive play from Tom. Elko tries to loft it mid, but King Kong was more than ready for it, and as the time ticks down here, looking less and less likely that the Mojitos get something here.
Well, yeah, definitely if they're just in defense now, they need to score rather soon than later. It's an infield pass. It's going to be a great goal on input. We'll put it to 3, puts down the deficit to 2-1, but it might be too late. But that is just the goals we wanted to see from Groningen all series, basically. But now maybe it has been too late, but it has been a great goal by them. 30 seconds to go. They need 1 goal. Let's see, can they do it?
It's going to be, a bit squeakier, perhaps, for Tilburg than they would have liked, but they've done really well there to pressure instantly, and Tom will punish with no boost. Elko just chooses to leave it, and that should be it now. Just 8 seconds to go. Tom with a brilliant dunk. Elko didn't want to repeat Flux's catastrophe from game number 2, and the Mojitos, they haven't played that badly. They really haven't. It's not been, as good as we've seen at times from them, but Tilburg have just played some lights out Rocket League all series long, and as the time ticks down, that will be it. Another clean sweep for Tilburg, 8 on the trot in this playoff bracket, and they are looking really hot right now.
Yeah, I mean, I hoped for a better performance from Groningen, to be honest. I mean, I've said, Tilburg from the loser bracket round 1, they had a lot of momentum. They showed that they can play really well, of course, clean sweeping the Apes out of the tournament. And now, the Mojitos as well from Groningen. 4-0 again, 8 consecutive wins here in playoffs, all after each other. And well, that's just phenomenal, loser bracket, lower bracket run. They're really aiming for that, and they had the perfect start for it. And definitely, they're showing just what they can here, of course, in the EURC. Of course, 5th place in group stage, but here they are in the playoffs, definitely where it matters. And here they are. They're just playing really well in the playoffs. First 2 rounds just won very easily, 2 4-0s, and well, there they go, 2 round 3 until we're really on fire in this tournament.
They are. The Mojitos, unfortunately for them, even though they came in the upper bracket, have gone out before their Dutch counterparts of this season's EURC. We will see. In fact, the team that put the Mojitos into this series will be on stream next, the Beckett Bears. Perhaps one of the, the big surprises of this season, a qualified team who've done really well into the upper bracket straight away. This will be their defining test. They will be on stream in a minute against Berlin Phoenix, so don't miss that after this short break.
I'm on my own, broken alone. I feel the rain crashing down. All around this empty town, I'm searching for the lost and found. But you don't care, you're unaware. Keep moving like the scars aren't even there. It's in the air, like a blazing flare. Just stare, cause the flames will burn us. I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. I used to kiss your head when you cried for me. Hold your hand while the pain was over. Keep you warm by the roaring sea. You meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. My darling dear, you're never here. When I'm in pain, you hide and disappear. Like shadows in the atmosphere, charting the stratosphere. I prayed for you and kept you near, in hopes you'd chase away my fears. I'm on my own, you made it so, and now I'm chasing nightmares through. I used to run with you through the great big leaves, laugh at you when you laugh at me.
And welcome back to the desk for the EURC playoffs. I am joined now by Tylacto and Kiza, and between us, we're going to figure out exactly what happened to the Groningen Fair Play Mojitos in that last series, and how Tilburg have gone from being the only team with one 4-0 sweep in the playoff stage to being the only team with two 4-0 sweeps in the playoff stage. Tylacto, I mean, maybe they just mind control their opponents. Is that a viable strategy that they have at the moment?
I don't know if it's a regulation move to mind control your opponents, but I mean the Mojitos. We came into this tournament, and I know we were all just like, so they're kind of the A team, but they're kind of not doing as well as the B team, the Martinis. And they've come in, and I think there's no doubt in our minds, actually, Mojitos were always the B team. They just got absolutely alphaed by Tilburg. Martini's still yet to play in the uppers against Basilisk. And, well, yeah, as you say, Tilburg currently on an 8-game win streak.
It's kind of scary, and I think the only team that can potentially, even come close to equaling it are Berlin Phoenix, who we'll get to in a few seconds, Giza. We'll keep our minds on Tilburg for a few more seconds, because at this point, they will be running into Bournemouth in this lower bracket, which not necessarily a team you want to run into in the lower bracket, not necessarily a team you want to run into anywhere, but it's going to be potentially a stop to that 8-game win streak.
Yeah, potentially. It depends on who Bournemouth show up with, because obviously, as we know in the past, Bournemouth aren't particularly the best in terms of having a consistent roster. Coming from Salford, I know that is a very ballsy thing to say, but if Bournemouth come in with full roster, so Cloud being in there, Will, Onoz, pretty much any roster really out of the main four with Cloud in there, it's going to be a terrifying thing for Tilburg to be running into. However, if Bournemouth don't come out coming out with full engines, being as strong as they've been in the past, I'm not even going to lie, I actually see Tilburg getting another 4-0. So they're going to go 12 in the lower brackets. They're going to be on an absolute steamroller down there.
It's amazing. It's potentially 12-0 for Tilburg, and you have to say they've been playing well to get it as well. As much as we can joke about how their opponents have potentially slipped up a little bit, TUD, those second two games against them after they lost 2 overtimes in the first round, really didn't appear to want to be there anymore. This time, Mojitos, a little bit of cohesion issues. Tom, especially for Tilburg, both of the other players as well, they've really been stepping up. Smickelbear has had some great games, and this is a team that potentially deserves to be 12-0 in this lower bracket, as weird as it is to say coming into it. But listen, dread it, run from it. Berlin Phoenix has still arrived, and after 3 weeks of not seeing them on stream, we are going to see them back here. They have dropped a single game so far in this tournament. They have the biggest game differential you will ever see in anything in Thylacto. They come into this series against Beckett Bears with, I think, everyone backing them.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if the channel point prediction was effectively not just 100%, barring the people who just goes, I want to be a millionaire by putting 10p on Beckett Bears. As I would certainly love to bet on them as well. But yeah, credit to NUIG Griffins, the one team that took a game off Berlin Phoenix in the group stage. Scientists are still trying to figure out how, but of course, credit to them. And I think this might be one of the first times we want to see this Berlin Phoenix team get tested well. And I think we saw only really a glimmer of it in their Week 1 series against the Kiel Krakens. That was probably the last time Kiel played with their full roster, to be honest. And Game 1 was close, but after Berlin Phoenix took Game 1, it was not pretty from there on out. You'd like to think Beckett Bears have the sort of mental fortitude to keep going in this lengthy best of 7, but it's so hard to think that they're not going to get their legs completely ran out by this team.
Absolutely. But I mean, look, over on the other side, Beckett Bears, you've mentioned their names a couple of times. I know we're all focused on Berlin Phoenix in this series because they are the big German dogs coming in there, the team to beat in this tournament. But Beckett have only dropped one series across this tournament so far, kids, and they've dropped it to Erasmus Rotterdam, who are probably another top 4 team at the moment. So Beckett, not without a prayer coming into this series.
Yeah, actually, the last series, while last series was kind of happening, let's put it that way, I was having a chat about Beckett, and I think the best way of putting them is they're more of a scalable team. So the performance they do against the various teams, they never feel like they're overwhelming the other side, no matter who they really play. Now, Beckett have always shown up, even against the top-end teams, but then even if you put them against some of the weaker teams, it's still somewhat of a close series at times. Now, coming into this will probably be have to be the biggest push they have ever done. As, like you say, Berlin only losing 1. But nevertheless, I think it was, who was it against in the group stages? The last match they played, I think it was against Sapienza. It was the Sapienza game, I think. They were absolutely off on what they were cracked out of their mind in that series, and if they can bring that sort of performance into this series, so Mosley just pretty much hitting every single double touch. Actually, I think you got to cast that one, didn't you, Nulek? Raiho, Mosley, okay, we'll leave the memory game out. But nevertheless,
redirects. I think
it was
an
absolutely unreal game for them. And if they can bring that sort of performance, I genuinely think there could be a possibility of it going to a Game 5. Because this team, I know, no. I'm gonna hold it out for the Brits. No, I'm gonna be the British boy here. Sure. And I'm gonna say, these lads, there is massive potential. It's whether they can tap into it this series.
That's absolutely fair. And Tylacto, I'm going to ask you one more hard question before we go to predictions, because Kiz has brought up the redirects, the double taps and stuff there. You know, we've seen Beckett, they're capable of pulling off these highly mechanical plays. Rahu, the rest of the boys, they're capable of it, right? But we've also seen them, they play as a good cohesive team unit. But when you're coming up against a team that as strong in every part of the field as the Berlin Phoenix is it that team play that's going to stand to their favor, or is it going to be those moments of brilliance? So they need to just pull it out of the bag and just outplay on a 1v1 level?
Yeah, I really don't know how they could do that. As Rahu Dino can appear on the field of play, but how is he really meant to get it past the Berlin Phoenix players? I mean, it's hard for them to be the better team. It's hard for them to be the better players. But on a given day, there is always variance there. And whilst nobody is probably going to back the Beckett Bears, we are hopefully going to see Berlin Phoenix at the very least tested. And I think once you sort of get that, maybe that first win, maybe even that second win, because something that Berlin Phoenix have probably never really had in their mind in this tournament is doubt. And sort of introducing them to them what doubt actually is, might actually get some tilt going in that team that has probably never experienced something like that. But I did love Kiz's prediction, saying that we get a Game 5 in this best of 7. It is hopeful to say that Beckett will get a second game of the tournament off of Berlin Phoenix, and I'd like to think that we'll get a Game 5 in this best of 7 too.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I would too. And I'm going to open up the predictions to that. I'm going to say, unsurprisingly, 4-1 to Berlin Phoenixes. And look, I said it before it was cool. My prediction sheet has it locked in. And whether or not I filled that prediction sheet maybe 45 minutes ago is not up for debate right now. It's not a point of contention. But yeah, 4-1 to Berlin Phoenixes is what I'm going to call it. I'm going to throw it back to you, Tylacto. I think you've said something similar just there.
Yeah, I would like Beckett Bears to get a game, and because of that, they will probably not. I will say 4-0 Berlin Phoenix.
That's fair enough. Tylacto going with his head rather than his heart as usual. We're going to throw it to Kizza to round us out. It's got to be Berlin for 3 on the desk, but how many games, Kizza? How many games?
Well, yes, unfortunately, boys, Beckett, as much as I love you, I'm sorry, yes, it's going to have to be Berlin in terms of prediction. But in terms of prediction for the series score, I want to say we can Beckett can at least take 2 games off of this. So overall, I'm going to say a 4-2 scoreline to Berlin.
Ooh, that's spicy. That is real spicy. And Kizza, for that, you're banished from the desk. Get out of here. You're gone. Goodbye. So long. Me and Tylacto are going to be taking over the cast from here on out. I was too far, Tylacto. I mean, what was he thinking? 4-2? That's ridiculous.
He's practically swore on the main broadcast by saying that. I mean, Berlin Phoenix gonna lose like 2/3 of their game losses in the tournament so far in one series. That is absolutely outrageous. We won't look absolutely silly if Beckett pull out the performance of a lifetime, which, I mean, in fairness, they're going to do it. Now could be a very convenient time. They've got pretty much no pressure on their shoulders. Nobody is expecting them to win. They're not expecting to win. And with that sort of lack of pressure, maybe they could actually get a win.
Yeah, that's it. With that kind of lack of pressure, why not just win? If nobody's expecting you to, just do the unexpected. Subvert expectations, right? That's key. And if there's one thing I've learned from Game of Thrones, that's a good thing to do, Tylacto, is to subvert expectations. Everyone loves it when you do that. Berlin Phoenix, I mean, look, everyone would genuinely love it this time around if Beckett Bears did. I'm sure Berlin Phoenix wouldn't do it, but whichever team does drop out of the upper bracket here will have a second chance down in that lower bracket where, I mean, it's still going to be difficult. If Beckett Bears do drop down there, they will have to go up against the winner of the Salford Lions or the Kiel Krakens. No, the Kiel Krakens and the Essex Blades. They'll play Essex again. That's right, which is spicy. Rematch of the group stages.
Now, that was a reverse sweep by Beckett, and it was one of them reverse sweeps that was just watching a slow-motion car crash. You knew it was happen. You just knew it was happening, and there was nothing that Essex were going to do to stop it. But they're off the back of 2 series wins now. That would be a perfect time for them to get their revenge. But of course, you know, Mojitos currently now out of the tournament at the hands of Tilburg. Beckett did look great beating them, though it's going to be very difficult for them to look great in this series. I mean, game 1 will be on Utopia Coliseum. The feelers, I'm sure, will go out, and hopefully the Phoenixes will not just completely smash them off.
Or if they do, at least make it entertaining. Do it in style. Give us some clips to go into a montage at the end of this tournament, so that we can attract more people for the next tournament. You know, that's that's how it works, right? You got to make it look cool.
All right, this is like the whole crowd is here in the arena. They've got like the massive banners and like the huge foam fingers waving them around. Beckett, get a game. We're making a joke because we're kind of expecting. We just don't want to set our expectations high, really.
Yeah.
I want to be able to celebrate this series being close. But in actual fact, I wouldn't actually be that shocked if it was that close. Although Rahu not really getting that boost at the start isn't going to open up on the perfect footing, and that's okay. In the Quintessence, honestly, a player that is always going to struggle to get a lot of credit alongside the likes of Tigri and Nagflo. It's hard not to be outshone, and that's fair enough. But I'd like to give him some credit here when he does something right, you know? Although, watch how he just probably like own goals in game 1. There's just nothing we can actually do about it.
Once again, we'd be fine with the Berlin Phoenixes doing the own goal. That's going to come off the crossbar. Tigri looking for the follow-up, not quite going to find it. Berlin Phoenixes, bit of pressure on the goal early on, but Beck Bears, you know, they're holding their own for the time being. It's definitely off to a slow start just here. Neither team really wants to be the first one to try anything too ridiculous. You feel Beckett Bears don't want to be found out by going for something too ridiculous. Berlin Phoenix just figuring out what level their opponents are going to be playing at this evening.
Yeah, Berlin comfortable in possession, although Beckett are trying to fight back, and a loose ball off the backboard will open up for their first shot of the game. It wasn't on target, was going to have to be a fantastic one at that, but certainly trying to prove to Berlin that they are here to play. As Quinn, likewise off that backboard, can open up, and it's the second time Berlin have hit the woodwork in just over a minute. This time, Nagflo, his shot from close range, finding that crossbar, as Beckett certainly seems to be on the verge of turtling up every time Berlin are pressing forward into their half. As just such speed here, baiting in Ra, who he thinks he's okay to go for that ball. And then by the time he's like halfway there, he realizes he's in a completely different ballpark.
Yeah, completely taken out of play. Matty's up high for this. Going to take it off backward. Any follow-up there? It'll be Berlin players there first. And Berlin back on hunt. They've had 2 shots rattling off the woodwork. Just getting the eye in, calibrating. This time it's saved by Mosley. The follow-up isn't quite quick enough to get the goal. Tigri, though, is up so quickly. Matty under and launches it off his own crossbar this time around. Good deny. Counterattacks here. Quintessence in the back, though, is going to get a decent clearance. That Rahu gets it very high. But you can just see the pure speed that comes out of the Berlin players there. Tigri is up so quickly to that. That's a... Wasn't quite the pass they wanted in defense. I got worried for them there for half a second.
And he nearly got that counter-attack if Quintessence wasn't actually in the right spot and patient as third man there. Could have actually been a runaway goal. And we saw that the only time Kiel looked strong against Berlin is when they had that lead to defend in game 1. And I feel like scoring game 1 is... Oh, hang on a minute. I was going to say winning game 1. Could be the key here to an entire series. Mosley all the way back there as the third there. He's actually... going to get that block though quite comfortably. Certainly would be looked to lead the line for this Beckett Bears team, as Nagflo doesn't quite find that second touch on the defense. And again, patience defense from Beckett is going to pay off, though. There has been a couple close calls with the woodwork, and you have to feel that sometimes it's a matter of time. And this time, Tigri going to misread uncharacteristically. Nagflo again, his double touch, the bump in the way, and it's scrappy in front of the Beckett net, but it is not in the back of it.
And we're 2 minutes left in this game, 3 minutes already gone. We're still goalless, and the deeper we get into this game without a goal being scored, the more likely it is that one lucky goal in either direction could just take the game. And you can see it, Berlin Phoenix is definitely starting to look more aggressive now. Shot on target, you can see them, they're really starting to press. Good pass into the middle, it's up for Tigri. Will be denied, but Berlin Phoenix, as you can see it, they don't want to give Beckett a chance to get this one potential goal that could take the game. Beckett standing strong on defense, though.
Yeah, the defense holding up as best as they can. Berlin will certainly feel like they have scored, and they probably already should have, to be fair, but that's the thing. They could get frustrated. They certainly look to be growing more impatient, and we're yet to see if that will be a good or a bad thing for Leeds. Beckett as Rahu is across trying to find man. It's a nice touch from him, but Berlin, they've got the numbers back, and Nagflo, he makes a strong challenge downfield. He's going to get the second touch as well to force out that goal line save. Quinn, his touch is off the corner. Tigri not quite finding the angle he was looking for. All 3 purple players back, and they'll see this one away again, heading into the final minute with a chance here. Not quite going to make it through. The shot this time again off the woodwork.
How many times is this Beckett woodwork going to deny Berlin? Enough so far is the answer. We'll have to see if that continues throughout the game. As the counter-attack not quite here. Tigri is given a chance to move forward. Passes to Nagflo. Has another chance to pass back in. Matty off the back wall. Takes it for the time being. Tigri leaves it for Quintessence, who has turned off the ball. Anyway, so this will be a stave execution for a little while long by Beckett. Across the face to goal. Chance there. Matty not quite getting there. Lots of demos coming through. That'll allow this aggressive play to continue for a little while longer. Matty back into the corner, and it looks like Berlin have managed to weather Beckett's one real, aggressive period of play in the last 45 seconds, minute or so.
Indeed, as well. That sort of ran all the way up the other end with Beckett getting their second shot, and it could have been put in if Matty reached it at the back post, though certainly would have been against the run of players. Mosley will beat out Tigri and Nagflo. We'll see the ball out to overtime here. Next goal takes game 1, and as fair to say, Berlin definitely been the stronger team in terms of possession and offense, but who knows what can happen and what one freak goal might occur.
If we can borrow a phrase from Formula 1, in Rocket League, anything can happen, and it usually does. Here in overtime, this goal could just drop into the Berlin net. Beckett have not been without their periods of offense, even if it has been Berlin on top, even if they have, as you said, looked like the stronger team. There's definitely still a chance here for Beckett.
Yeah, I mean, the thing would be is if Berlin were to lose this game 1, and maybe Matty with a chance here, going for the fake, but Tigri, he's seen it before. He holds his nerve well as Matty trying such a ballsy play, but did not work out there, and maybe he'll live to regret it, as Berlin are again looking to march on that offense. I was saying that if Beckett could take and sort of snatch this overtime away, which they don't look like they will, the infield from Quinn and Nagflo with a simple bouncing shot, and Berlin, it may not have been pretty, it may not have been comfortable, but they have taken game one.
And Quintessence, the player you highlighted at the top of the match, a man who sometimes struggles to shine with two players as talented as Nagflo, as Tigri on this squad. But the player to set up the final pass there, the player that found the way through the defense to really know what the member of Berlin Phoenix managed to do. And while there was still a lot to do on that shot, Nagflo with a great finish, Quintessence was the player who saw the infield pass and took it. And that's what broke it open. Berlin Phoenix, it's not in the fashion I think we expected game one to go. It was a lot closer, but Berlin Phoenix still take the win, and Beckett Bears, we have to hope that doesn't get them down. You know, those overtime losses in games where you are so close can feel so difficult.
Yeah, it's the exact same. We referenced the Kiel series again, as you could easily see these floodgates opening in Berlin. If not for that woodwork of the Beckett Bears net, it could have been 3 or 4-0. Beckett will feel that if they would just took the sort of 1.5 chances they had that game, could have snatched it 1-0, but with the shot count being that far into the Germans' favour, it's just not a reproducible result, as we'll be heading onto the Forbidden Temple for game 2 of this best of 7. Beckett, they know they need to step it up, but the question is, can they?
We said at the top of the day, Beckett in with a prayer in this series, and where better to have that prayer answered than in a temple play like that? It just makes sense. Beckett will come into this game too. Well, 1 goal down, so never mind.
This is it.
Yeah, this is
just get the preemptive Fs, honestly, at this point. Just
unfortunately, Woodwork couldn't get in the way of that one. Tigri managed to get his eye in. It did. It was quite close. Yeah.
Did you see the post just shuffle to the left on the replay?
So you know, in pinball where you can bump the table, you need an option like that in Rocket League where you can just bump the pitch by a few inches.
That's true. Well, 6 seconds in, Beckett immediately to DEFCON 5, I think, as yet to score in this series. They have plenty of time. They can tie it up on the defense here, but there will be no ability for them to sort of sit back and hope for a goal against the run of play. They are going to have to score at least 2 to take this one. As you can tell, I'm great at maths, but I'm just reminding Beckett, as we're worried if they get more than 2 shots this game. They're yet to get there first. The infield across from Ra. It was a nice attempt to link up with Maddie, though fortunately it ends up being a bit awkwardly executed, and Tigri is on the back foot attempting to hit clips immediately. You can tell Berlin have immediately decided that they've got this one in the bag.
Yeah. It wasn't quite the clip, but you know, you try to clip often enough, and you could see the Beckett defense. They're rattled by it. They're all over themselves. Mosley tries for it, gets the bump, and then Tigri just circles back around. Shark in the water, just circles in and puts it in.
It's really stressful as well for Beckett when they realise that Berlin are sort of having fun with them, when what they want the most out of this series is for Berlin to try their hardest, for them to get as good as practice as possible. But when you can see your opponents are just having fun with you, it's really, really tilting, and it can get into your head as well. So it actually ends up being somewhat of a valid strategy as Tigri is up on the backboard again, and he was waiting for another redirect. And you do worry for Beckett right now. They cannot get out of their end. As you see, it's just that Berlin, they've got this lead, and they just look so comfortable. They've got the leather massage chair out, and they're literally they've just got their feet up in it right now.
Oh. I honestly thought that somehow Nagflo managed to find the angle on that one to put it in as well. But you can even see it in where the demos are coming through in the last. Oh, wait, that's a goal! What a pinch, Matty, the 50.
It was actually fantastic. I think he snuck it by the right-hand side of him. This pass across from Mosley is really nice, and Nagflo didn't respect it enough, and finding the bottomest of the bottom corner. And with their first shot of the game, it's going to be a fantastic one from Maddie, and maybe that gets the ball rolling. Maybe Berlin question their confidence. Beckett are back within 1.
Yeah, I mean, look, one of my quiet fears coming into this series was Beckett actually wouldn't even manage to get a goal, if I'm being totally honest. So I'm glad they've gotten 1 on the board at least. Whatever else happens in this series, at least they can do that. And as you say, it's back within 1. It could be time for Berlin to start sweating, but not if Tigri's putting shots up like that. Nagflo with the follow-up, not quite on target as well, but you can see it. They are comfortable still in this game. Good clear, Nagflo. You love to see it, helping Beckett stay close.
Yeah, I don't know if he meant to get that clear. I thought they'd be laughing in the Berlin Phoenix comms there, as Nagflo slightly getting in the way of that flick in a way that the Beckett defense could only dream to. As Tigri will pick it up on the defense, but will get given no respect from Rahu, challenging early, and I think that's really what Beckett have to do, just to sort of make sure that there is no massage chair for Berlin, and they are not uncomfortable. They're not comfortable, because both teams are. I think it's fair to say which one should come out on top, as maybe a counterattack here again, but Maddie not going to have the precision of his previous shot, and now the tables have turned and Mosley will play with his life there. Hang on a minute, another demo on the back line. Could have been open, but nobody from Beckett could really have been there, and certainly probably couldn't have predicted that. And again, we've crossed half-time. The situation doesn't look too Beckett friendly, but they are still fighting back.
Yeah, they're definitely not out of this yet, and something you mentioned there, which I wanted to give Beckett credit for, especially in game one, was actually getting up in the faces of Berlin. You know, you can see it again. Maddie is just up quickly. They're not giving them the space to feel too comfortable. They're getting up very high to contest these challenges. I mean, look, sometimes this is what happens when you contest super quickly, is it leaves space behind you, but it's kind of what Beckett still have to try, right? Rahu just gets bumped out of the way. Mosley goes for a bit of a contest, because if he gives too much space, someone's going to run at him and score past him.
Yeah, it's how it be. Is credit to Quint again. Got that bump on Rahu, and then that infield touch to Nagflow was the combo Quint to Nag that won them game one, and it could maybe have put game two out of reach here as well.
Yeah, it could have. I mean, 3-1 definitely feels a little bit insurmountable right now. It's the one goal that Beckett have managed to get.
Any other game. Any other game. You'd be like, this is still close. 2 minutes, 3-1, and then, no, it's just a bit sad, as it's going to be 4-1 now.
Yeah, Berlin Phoenixes, they score when they want.
It's
how
it looks sometimes.
It's how it feels.
50, Nagflow's just boosting his stats at this point as well. Beckett trying to play them an even game. It's just really hard to. Berlin Phoenix, they're quite good, but over the course of this best of 7, you can only really imagine that Beckett, if they can keep their mental game, will only get stronger from game to game. As in fairness, you know, this scoreline isn't as friendly as game 1, but they have looked a better team than in game 1. As far as I'm concerned, they were just completely turtling in the previous game.
Yeah, absolutely. They were completely turtling. I mean, their strategy of getting up, contesting early for balls was still having them keep it close. Oh, that was close. And the same strategy of getting up and, you know, contesting for balls early, they've carried it through into this game. They're just doing it further up the field, and it's sometimes catching them out as, you know, players are taking longer to rotate back in defense. That's why these holes seem to be opening up a little bit more in the defense, as well as, you know, just missing the ball sometimes. But if you ignore that, you know, like you said, the scoreline is a little bit less friendly, but they've actually looked more threatening when they're near the halfway line, which is definitely nice for the players.
Yeah, it is good. It's just they're currently a bit like Forrest Gump right now. Another one's going to go in. They've just got mud all over them. There's like, keep trying. We can still get this game too, maybe. As it feels like the whole series might be a little bit like that for them. I mean, come on, Berlin. Like, the last thing they needed was a kickoff goal.
I was wondering how you were going to tie the phrase "life is a box of chocolates" into this series, but I realized it was a whole different Forrest Gump quote.
Yeah,
because this is not a box of chocolates right now. I mean, unless you're again a Berlin Phoenix fan, in which case, I don't know. It's just is it even chocolate? It's just straightforward.
It's a huge box of chocolates. They got so many to pick from. They're probably going to get 20 this series.
Look at that was a nice attempt. That could have been the strawberry drop right there.
Strawberry drop. We're going to compare each goal. What was the kickoff goal? Was that like the bounty that nobody really wanted?
Yeah, I was going to say it's absolutely the coconut one, right? It's got to be the bounty. Nobody wants the bounty.
But then there's some people that like kickoff goals, which are the weird people that practice kickoffs all day long. You know,
they're the people
that we do need to make kickoffs better, sort of thing. Like a bounty eater is actually a great friend. They get rid of the bounty. As much as they're a freak and weird, they're really, really helpful to have around.
Now, some people might say we're carrying this analogy too far, but I think we've only just begun to carry this analogy. It's horrifyingly accurate so far.
Yeah, it's like the one was like the toffee twist was the bump from Quint into the infield, where it got a little bit messy, but then he twisted it inside. It was pretty good. I don't know what this one is. This is. Like, it was a bit of a 3-man play. It could be the green triangle from like Quality Street to finish off the Brazil, though. I'm not sort of maybe it should be like a hazelnut, something more Brazilian for that 7th goal.
There's surely no Brazil nut things in Quality Street. I'm struggling desperately to remember actually what's in a Quality Street. It's been a very long time since anyone has actually given me one.
And it's just not the one you want. You get a tin, like you see, like you get the Christmas present under the tree, and you're hoping, you know, you're gonna get chocolates, but you're hoping for heroes, and then you see that hexagon tin, and you're just like, I guess I'll be opening these in mid-January then, sort of thing. Like,
all right, family, it's been real. I'll see you next Christmas. Thanks very much for having me over.
It's an improvement for Beckett, as we were saying. They went from 2 shots to 3 in this game too, but I can tell you it's mirroring the Kiel experience quite accurately. Kiel did lose by 1 goal in Game 1 in their group stage game, and Game 2 they did get Brazil. Fortunately, Beckett will get a bonus game no matter what, but by the end of Game 3, who knows whether they'll want it.
Yeah, it's going to be a rough position to be in, I think, at the end of Game 3, whatever happens. I mean, the hope is maybe at this point, Berlin Phoenix, they're feeling comfortable. 2 games up, they take the foot off the gas a little bit, and you sneak back into the series, catch them off balance, and maybe take it from there.
Yeah, certainly you could catch Berlin Phoenix off guard, as we just don't. I mean, they only seem to get tested in the first game of a series, which is fair enough. Probably when they're just having them feelers out and seeing how confident can we be. Yep, we can just be confident and walk over this sort of thing. Tends to be the outcome. But it's mainly about the fact that if Beckett can maintain their confidence, if they can keep fighting back, I truly believe they will catch Berlin off guard. It's just that every one of Berlin's opponents has probably quite understandably lost faith at some point during the series.
Yeah, when you're playing up against players the quality of these Berlin players, it starts to feel like a mountain that's a bit too high to climb, because whatever you do, they seem to be up in your face. It's one of the things that happens in Rocket League. The better a player is, the faster they are, the more all over the pitch they are. When you're playing up against players like Nagflow and Tigri, they just seem to be everywhere at once. And I mean, how do you beat someone that's everywhere on the pitch, that has all of your boosts at all times, and it's still raining shots down on your goal? It can get inside your head, can be a little bit demoralizing. Beckett, as we said, they're doing a good job so far. They've gone from 0 goals to 1 goal. That's a infinity improvement between the first game and the second. But continuing from there to actually put in enough goals to beat Berlin, that's where it starts getting real tricky.
Oh, they're gonna. Oh, that was dangerous. I was gonna say Nagflow's still gonna get a shot here. That block is gonna come through though. As conceding less goals than 7 is always a good start, and they look like they'll keep their clean sheet for the first minute in this Game 3. And well, maybe they're not trying to win the series, but I think if they have any intentions to, then I don't really want them having to reverse sweep, as this Game 3 could probably be considered a must-win, though that is obviously a dangerous phrase to use against the likes of Berlin Phoenix. But Nagflow, he's just going to keep them in their end with 2 50-50s. Quinn comes on through with a nice challenge, but Rahu, he gets a good block there. Tigri up first as expected, pops it up to himself, looks for the infield pass one, but to Nagflow, but more like they're playing one touch, one bounce. Nothing really dangerous going to be happening there. And Beckett continuing to hold on.
Tic-tac-toe football from the side of Berlin right now. And Nagflow's last pass there, unfortunately, Tigri just failed because he'd run out of boost when the pass came back down. Mostly 1v1, just beaten by Tigri. That was a good effort, though. We've seen a couple of times now Tigri just challenged by members of Beckett Bears. Putting a 1v1, that's going to go in, not quite, off the right post. And I suppose it was about time that Berlin's Woodwork got a chance to get a say in the game after Beckett Bears' Woodwork did so much in Game 1.
Yeah, that is true. The Berlin Woodwork just stood out cold, really, on a cold, rainy night, and apparently Urban Central's just now in Stoke, because that shot is, oh my goodness, cross-continent, the aerial from Nagflow. He's going to drop it in and just really upset Leeds Beckett, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but can he do it on a cold, rainy night in Stoke is really the question here, Tylacto. I mean, honestly, the answer is probably yeah, right? That's the nice thing about watching a Berlin Phoenix series is even when they are just winning 4-0 in games, they're going to pull stuff off like that sometimes, and you just have to appreciate how good they are. As Tigri nearly went under the entire defense, but Matty was sitting there on the post to cover it the entire way. Quintessence tries to go past as well. And look, sometimes they just do things that look cool, and I'm here for that.
Yeah, absolutely as well. Beckett appeared to have closed the floodgates for now, and that's certainly an improvement from the last game. As we say, we're expecting improvement over the course of this best of 7, and I do think we're already seeing it, though. Berlin, they're still wanting to keep up their aggression. They're trying to, but the defense, always hard to get it past 3 players no matter what. At the infield now, but Matty catching himself a little far in front of the ball where it ended up coming to him. Always hard to know how far the pass should go forward and how far forward you should position. It's a balancing act, and certainly wasn't quite balanced in the weights there, but more defense from the backboard there as Berlin continually going for high-flying plays, and a lot of the time leaving themselves sometimes hang on. No boost on Quinn. Sometimes vulnerable to the counter-attack. We've seen a couple 1v1 runaway situations, though Beckett failed to counter and actually punish on either.
Yeah, and it's interesting, you're talking about the high-flying plays, and it's... Ooh, no, there's someone there. But the high-flying plays specifically for Berlin, and it's interesting when you look at a team this good who aren't really being challenged right now, and to look at parts of the game so you're like, okay, if Berlin were playing up against someone who was threatening them a bit more, where do we think they'd start to make the adjustments? And I think you're right. It's basically every single time they've had a chance, they've taken the ball high in front of the Beckett goal. There's been no attempt to switch it up and go for hard driving ground shots to pass it infield, really. And that is something that I think if we were seeing Berlin start to feel a bit more threatened, that's exactly what they'd start to go to, over just taking it high every single time.
Yeah, it's fair. Although I think it's just representative of their confidence. They're so happy that with the ball being in the air, they're confident they're going to be winning the vast majority of races to it. And of course, infield plays can certainly be a double-edged sword. As if you get beaten to that ball, it becomes an infield to your opponent. And Beckett, respect to them, have shown that they are not hesitating to challenge early when they can. And I'm sure Berlin have picked up on that. And because of that, they're just like, well, we just hit the ball over them forehead. And eventually, they concede. And with the raw speed, patience, and positioning they've got, eventually it does come through, though. This play from Beckett was shaping up nicely, if not for a big save there by the crossbar from Quinn. And with this offense as well, a little cheeky triple commit we saw. There's 30 seconds left on the clock. Berlin not looking all too comfortable. And I can say that the shot count in Game 3 is dead even, 5 apiece.
I think we just give the win to Beckett if they manage to get more shots, and this will be another shot right here, saved again, shot dunked down into Quintessence on that. That could genuinely be a goal for Beckett with a slightly better finish, which, you know, they're putting themselves in scoring positions, they're preventing the defense from running away from them, and recovered well from Brazil in game number 2. There's still a chance for one more piece of offense here. Rahul take the ball, will go low under one, and Matty couldn't quite get the bump onto Tigray, and that is calm under pressure from the German players. They'll look to score one more down at the other end. Ball will drop, but Beckett at the end nearly managing to bring us to a second overtime in this series. Couldn't quite pull it off. But I mean, look, like you said, they seem to be picking it up as the series goes on.
And I'm excited for Game 4, as that could easily have been 1-1, headed to another overtime, and nobody could have said that would have been unfair. Beckett Bears outshooting in Game 3 there. A solid 7 shots to 5. Sure, most of them weren't as dangerous, but there was a couple that you have to think those were really good half chances, and if you're not scoring any of the sort of 3 of them, then, you know, that's a little bit disappointing. But I mean, credit to their defense for that. If we had a series that was like 4 of them games in a row, we'd be like, damn, that was a really close series, even if it was 4-0. I mean, we'll excuse the back of the Brazil that it just came off of. It wasn't a high bar for them to improve over, but that is quite the improvement. And heading into Game 4, if Berlin's still going at sort of walking pace with regards to how intense they look like they're focusing, then I could easily see Beckett taking this one.
Yeah, absolutely still room for Beckett to take at least one game in this series to make our predictions on the desk. Well, my prediction correct. You were smart and predicted the 4-0 instead of running with your heart, as you should in all predictions on the desk. Always vote with the heart. Leave the head at the door. No. Look, yeah, I mean, Beckett, it's still going to be a struggle for them. The shooting hasn't quite been there, but they put themselves into shooting positions a couple of times. The defense has been very solid. They've been contesting Berlin much better than honestly I expected them to. I expected, you know, if this series was going to be anything, it was going to be high scoring, and if Berlin were starting to maybe let a game slip, it was because they were letting the defense slip. But Beckett came out with really strong defense, good challenges, and they've not been letting Berlin get away with anything in front of their own goal. And it's been, you know, what's allowing them to mount offense at the other end off a very stable defensive platform.
It's just really hard to shoot under this pressure. At the end of the day, this is EURC upper quarterfinals. You're up against Berlin Phoenix. You get a clean-cut chance. It's pretty hard to not have that anime music start playing in the back of your head, like, I can do this. I have to make this shot. And then you just miss-hit it, and it's like, damn. And then it's really hard the next time you're in that situation to find that confidence that you need again, where Berlin are just completely tiki-taking it around the Beckett defense. And oh my goodness, how many passing was that in that goal? 1, 2, 3, 4? And then 5 being the shot. I mean, we're learning elementary maths. I mean, this is just the credit and the education that Berlin Phoenix are bringing to the field of play.
Yeah, it's more than elementary maths. There was some physical education in there as well, because you could see Beckett, they were twisting, acrobats, backflips off the wall, the whole lot they were throwing themselves at, and Berlin were still just keeping that ball tantalizingly, just so close, just out of reach. Nobody on Beckett could quite find the touch to it. I mean, that's just when you know the limits of the guards, you know how close I need to get. Berlin were playing around that defense so well. And again, it's a pleasure to watch a team this good most of the time.
Well, they're continuing this offense. Again, the success in Game 3. The previous one did come when Beckett shut it out at just the 1 goal, and they seem to just about have done this for now, but Berlin are up through Tigray, popping it high for Nagflo. He's looking for the flip reset double touch, but couldn't maintain his altitude there, and Maddie is going to run it away down the end. Slap it hopefully round that back ball, but the touch from Quint down to Tigray. Going to see that one off with little problem. Mosley collecting that ball, though. Has a ceiling shot, but had to rush it. Was not given the space he wanted. Maddie will pop it past 1. Tigray up on the back ball, but couldn't challenge it. So Maddie slightly misreading that bounce. A dangerous shot maybe coming through, but Berlin have the numbers back for now, and it's all a little bit disjointed from the Berlin defense. But again, no sort of knockout punch of a shot coming out from Beckett.
Yeah, not quite there. And you can see how aggressive they have to go to get those shots. That's going to be potentially a chance for Berlin. Not quite put in just yet. Denied by the defense. Mosley up quickly again. But on that last play, Matty had to rush forward and challenge in the opposition half while both of his teammates were stuck in the opposite corner with no boost. And that's just, the immense pressure. If that goes wrong, even like, what a shot. What a shot. I mean, that's just, whew. Angle perfect. Inch perfect.
Yeah, Tigri from the ceiling over to the nag flow and bim, bada boom, off the crossbar, back down and up again. It's the back of the net, and that is a 2-0 lead for the Berlin Phoenix here on match point. And they can already taste the semi-finals, and they're just chatting, having a good time on their way to it as Beckett, still in Forrest Gump mode, are still trying to drag themselves out the mud. They've had good moments when they've sort of got one leg up, and they've looked like they might have been able to stand back up, and then they've sort of just fallen back over again.
Yeah, it looks like it'll be another one. Quintessence good finish. I mean, had a little bit to do on that, but not all that much. There wasn't any defenders in the way of that shot.
Yeah.
And hey, Berlin Phoenix, they're starting to look good. To go back to something previous said. Yeah, no, sorry, far away.
I was just going to say the best part is that we don't look disrespectful for saying to type F 1 goal into game 2, which in any other series would have looked so toxic. But actually, we're completely accurate.
Just right.
Now, it's just right.
Honestly, I think you could have said that during the Kiel series for most of this tournament. Just being like, all right, boys, F's in the chat for the rest of the teams here. Berlin, gonna take this all the way. And honestly, probably wouldn't have been proven wrong. I think that was a safe bet even back then. As Berlin. I mean, look, when you have two players as strong as Magflow and Tigri coming in, I mean, it's a safe bet that it's going to require something special from one of the other teams in the tournament to really challenge you. And especially in a tournament where we have double elimination, it's not going to have to happen just once for Berlin.
Exactly.
It's going to happen twice that, they get massively upset.
The question is what Beckett learned from this series as well. They've been completely stretched out of it. Like, that's the point where they just never have been before. And what they learned from that could be very valuable as well. As who knows, their aim will be to, return to the grand finals and get another match against Berlin. Though a long road they'll have. And I'm curious about it from Berlin's perspective as well. As let's not talk about this goal. Let's just ignore this one like it didn't happen actually. As maybe they could learn a little bit about keeping the ball out their net. Is the Beckett D. Like I said, we're not gonna talk about this goal, Nule. Okay, actually, what is Mosley doing? I can't.
He's learning, all right, about how his car moves. It's very important that you understand how the car moves when you flip off sidewall inside your own. And what better time to do it than in a series like this? Maybe that could have saved that goal. And how would he know if he hadn't tried?
That's very, very true. Always try the most acrobatic off saves in the back of your net. Maybe you learn a game-breaking bug that you can exploit. Maybe that's the limit we're looking for here. He's wondering.
The trick is to do when there's lots of people watching on Twitch as well, just to make sure it gets reported. And even if you do learn about it, you'll never get to exploit it in the series that matters.
Just looking for the white hat. A really honourable move there. It's 4-0 in game 4, looking like probably going to be the same in the series. But I'm hopeful that we get to talk to Quint of Berlin Phoenix as well. See how they found this series. See if they felt it was close. Because at times, it really was a series. And then, hang on a minute. Are you about to see the greatest comeback in Rocket League history?
All right, I'll
I'm
sit up
thinking
my chair
probably
for that.
not, but I'll put my seatbelt back on just in case.
I mean, look, I haven't even taken my helmet off. You got to stay safe in these situations, okay? Just in case the series just comes to a grinding halt, crashes out of nowhere. I think there's more of a chance of my PC crashing. We've had issues with that in the past, but look,
that's fair.
It's
It's like
fine.
suddenly black screen and it's like suddenly like got insomnia, like some sort of horror movie. So now you're worried that you've not packed your parachute in case Berlin are strapped to you and they fall off a cliff. Could be dangerous though. Needing 3 goals in this amount of time, maybe we get a second note Tigri off that crossbar, and Beckett, they just want another goal. Can you not give it to them? I mean, come on, it's probably okay at this point. I mean, Rahu, his touch is going to be loose, and Tigri nearly finding a 5th as the series will come to a close. And again, I'm kind of looking forward to finding out how Quint felt about this one and how they feel moving on from it.
Yeah, and of course, find out what is his favourite chocolate in a box of Caldy Street. I think is really probably the most important one. What would they compare their tournament run so far to if they had to pick a chocolate? These are the important questions, and that's what we ask on EURC. Only the most important questions.
It's true. I'm kind of wondering if they have Quality Street in Germany, or what the sort of equivalent is.
Yeah, I mean they must. They have chocolate, all right. Well, it's probably much higher quality. If being honest, I mean it's mainland Europe. They just have better chocolate than we do in the UK or Ireland in general.
I mean, Swiss chocolate is amazing. Norwegian chocolate. I don't know if you've ever been to Norway.
I've been to Norway.
It's so expensive. The Norwegian chocolate. You try and get it in the shop, and it's just like, what? Good thing I need a credit card to buy this bar of chocolate or something. Like, it's actually crazy. But I mean, maybe we will have to ask Quinn about some chocolate, and of course we will ask him. As from my word is that we will have an interview. Of course, commiserations to Beckett Bears. They did get, 2 goals that series, despite the fact that the overlay says differently. The 2 1-goal games, and at the end of the day, Game 1 and Game 3 could have gone the other way. Should they? Probably not Game 1, but Game 3 would have been nice to get that overtime. You can understand why we predicted 4-1. Berlin Phoenix definitely can bleed. It's just the fact that, do we have a team in this tournament that can do it consistently enough and hold up that level for an entire series? And you have to think on most days of the week, no. But is it impossible? Absolutely not. As we'll, of course, get Quint's thought about that. And we'll set up this interview that we are having. I'm very much looking forward to. And when that is the case, we will see you right after this break.
for the last time this evening. Welcome back to the desk for the EURC playoffs. I am joined not only by Tylacto and Sigmund, but by the one and only Quint of the Berlin Phoenixes, fresh off a win over the Beckett Bears. And Quint, fair to say, I think you boys didn't necessarily look the most stretched, most challenged at any point during that series.
Yeah, you're right. That was not a challenge.
Fair, yeah. Nothing more to say. Look, I guess I'll pass it off to Tylacto and see if he has any questions to follow up with on that.
I mean, I respect the confidence. It looked very confident as you get another Brazil. We don't know how many Brazils you've racked up across the group stage, but your first Brazil of the playoffs. Potentially not the last, but of course that will be remain to see. I mean, game 3 was a little bit close. I mean, Beckett did outshoot you. You were definitely the better team throughout the whole series, but was there even a doubt in your minds that maybe you'd have dropped a game?
Honestly, no. We were pretty sure. Like, they were not bad at all. It's not that they were really, really bad. It's just that we're so much better that, yeah.
That's the quote of the tournament right there. That really is just the quote of the tournament for Berlin Phoenix, I feel like.
And hard to argue with, I think, based on your results so far. But there's one thing I do have to bring up before I pass you off to Sigmund for another question, and that's the fact, Quint, that you have dropped a single game so far in this tournament. And look, we've been wondering about it the entire time. It didn't happen on stream. Nobody knows what happened. I'm assuming, right? And you're going to have to tell us. Were you guys turtled for the entire match?
I am not gonna lie. They asked us to drop one game. And we said no.
Okay.
And then we did.
God.
So
they felt it was genuine.
So yeah.
That's so kind, but now they're going to find out.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've just outed their secrets live on stream for everyone who's still watching the tournament. As you know, NUIG, they were riding that high of being the only team to have taken a game off Berlin Phoenix, and we've just stripped it away from them. And Sigmund, while I go and cry as an Irishman, find out that was not a genuine game. Do you have any follow-up questions for Quint here?
I mean, you're not the only one suffering. We've been having a rough time with the German teams as well. I guess, how do you manage to keep focused when you're beating an opponent so badly?
We're not focused. we are not focused at all. I think in this game in particular, we didn't calm once. It was just like, I don't know. I just let the guys play. I don't know. There's not much I can do to control that.
Yeah.
Of course, I'll have to, or will have to probably step it up if we meet someone or if we face someone that's like better, like really good. But that'll probably happen, I don't know, in the grand finals or like before that, because upper bracket and stuff like that. But we'll see. I don't know. Just right now we were not focused, so.
That's fair, and I guess I have to ask then as the follow-up to that, is there any teams, have you been watching the rest of the tournament? Are there any teams that you've been looking at and said, oh, potentially they could challenge us?
Of course, coming from my perspective as the worst player on the team, I know for a fact that Kallio from Erasmus is a decent player, and he is, compared to my skill level, he's better than me. I know that for sure. But I still have two ROCS players in my team. One that just made top 4 with his team in EU. So if you would have asked them, they'll probably say there is not a single team. I mean, I went into this league knowing that I would win, and there was no doubt about it because my teammates didn't give me any reason to doubt. So pretty happy about that.
That's entirely fair. And honestly, out of anyone other than the team that has only dropped a single game, and only because they were asked to, I think it'd potentially start to sound arrogant, it'd start to sound cocky, but the truth is you guys have the results to back it up, and honestly, it doesn't sound like you were saying anything other than the absolute truth. Unless my fellow analysts have anything else to ask you. Anyone have anything?
I'm just curious. Well, they were asked to drop a single game. So what if at the start of a series, like in the test lobby, the opponents just ask you, can we win the series? I mean, you guys are playing very gentlemanly. I mean, at one point, it looked like you weren't coming much, as you say, as I saw Nagflow boom the ball downfield as a clearance for Beckett. I don't know if you remember that one. He cleared the ball for them fantastically. It does seem like you're having fun with it. Maybe the pressure will come on if games do get dropped when not asked to, but that'd be my question, Quint, is if the opponents asked you to lose the series, how far are you willing to take the sportsmanship?
I mean, we were looking to sweep through the tournament, so I don't think we're gonna give them a win, honestly.
Well, listen, Quinn, thank you very much for joining us. Well, look, most of these other teams probably don't have a chance to beat them. They probably won't let you have the series. If you do just ask them, it might still be your best bet. Just ask. You never know if it might happen. Quinn, thank you very much for joining us. We're going to get you off the stream now because looking at your room is making me feel inadequate for what I have behind me. And good luck in the rest of the tournament. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And with that, we are done with our games for the day, but we still have a desk, and we're going to take a little bit of time to break down what's happened today, to break down what is going to happen on this Wednesday as we continue to move through our playoffs bracket. Today, expected result just there. Beckett did take down Berlin. Not much to talk about in the Bournemouth-Portsmouth matchup as Bournemouth forfeited, and so Portsmouth will just move through on that one. But on the lower bracket, I think a little bit more exciting. Tilburg United taking down the Groningen Fair Play Mojitos in just 4 quick games, looking very good. The only undefeated team so far in playoffs apart from the Berlin Phoenixes, but they've played less series, so Tailacto, it hardly counts.
Yeah, I'm still trying to digest the fact that you said expected result. Beckett do take down the Berlin Phoenix.
Oh, listen. That was what I was expecting, all right? It was in my heart of hearts. I always knew Beckett would do, and reality won't change that.
I'm just mainly even more impressed than Berlin. I was impressed so much by Portsmouth, who you may have been expecting to be playing right now, but they just played so well in advance that they just played Bournemouth off the field because Bournemouth quite literally haven't shown up to that series, and because of that, they will be heading to the lower bracket where they have to face a Tilburg United on an 8-game win streak. And of course, you still have to give credit to Tilburg, who probably put us the performance of the day, really. A team that was on a 3-way tiebreaker, exact game difference, that they only lost out on head-to-heads as to why they're in the lower bracket, and they seem to be on a bit of a mission to tell us why they wish they were still in the upper.
Yeah, those Group A teams are definitely on a bit of a tear. 4-3, there was 4 teams in that group tied on that. Absolutely insane. And as you said, Tilburg are on a mission to show that they didn't deserve to be at the bottom of that pile. But hey, speaking of teams, Sigmund, that came out of Group A tied on 4-3, Kiel Krakens were one of them, and they've dropped to the Essex Blades tonight. And it was a Kiel with less subs than we saw last week when they managed to take Bournemouth all the way to a Game 7.
Yeah, it's really not a good look for Kiel's side. Of course, I can't really discredit Essex. Of course, they did have to put the work in to get that series. And they have been looking good all season long. They've just had some roster mishaps. I'll be honest, taking down Kiel was a surprise. Whether it was a catastrophic upset like Beckett beating Berlin was, I really don't think so.
Never going to live that down. It's look, you can't misspeak once on this desk. They will catch it. They will rip into you. And because of that, I'm giving them no time to think. We're going to just keep moving here into Wednesday's matchups. We're going to start in the upper bracket, and we're going to talk about the second Groningen team. One of them drops to Tilburg. Luckily, there was 2 of them in the playoffs, where the Fair Play Martinis will take on Basilisk Berlin on Wednesday. The winner gets the privilege of probably being the next team to lose to Berlin Phoenixes, who are seem to be on a mission in this playoffs. But I think this first matchup, the Fair Play Martinis versus Basilisk Berlin, could be an exciting one, Tailacto.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it, actually, as Martini seem to, they're the only Groningen team left in the tournament right now, and they have looked very strong during that group stage. Feels like a long time since we've seen them because of that, as they had that bye in the upper bracket topping their group. And yeah, Basilisk, maybe if they can take down one form of Berlin, they can get a game against the other. And after Quint's interview, who wouldn't want to take some games off the Berlin Phoenix right now?
Absolutely. I think you'd love to at least try and push them to the limits, at least make them come on an interview afterwards and make them say, you know what, that was a good series. We had to try a little bit for that one. But hey, we'll have to see. One of those teams will get a shot at doing it next week, but the loser will head down into lower bracket, and they will be playing the winner of the Salford Lions Engine Stuttgart. And speaking of teams that I think maybe don't want to be where they are right now, that are potentially looking a little bit stronger than their position would otherwise suggest, Salford Lions definitely have something to prove in this lower bracket at the moment, Sigmund.
Yeah, Salford been looking super strong domestically, and if it weren't for some very, very unfortunate tiebreakers over in Group C, they would still be in that upper bracket, but they are facing off against a weakened Stuttgart. I'd like to think they take that series. How they perform against Basilisk Berlin, who have been looking like one of the stronger German sides, or Martini, who are currently the second strongest Dutch team, if not the best. I haven't seen their performance relative to Erasmus, but they did win the Dutch league in the winter.
They did, yeah.
Okay, good. Have just been
got that
dragged
memory.
into this last minute.
Yeah,
so
you
want to make sure
you're
I've got my
like
facts
I'm
right.
fact checking myself at the same time, and I'm just getting it right. I am Sigmoid,
Just
and I'm
correct.
also a massive Salford fan because, of course, they knocked out Loughborough Lions. So does that make you a massive Salford fan now?
I mean, I've been having this discussion with myself because I've got to be running social media for Loughborough now as well. So it's like, if Salford are the only UK side which makes it to top 6 on finals day, do I still support them? And I think I'm gonna have to. I think I'm gonna have to stick with them because they're gonna need our support, especially against Birmingham. Portsmouth have locked top 6 though, so they won't be the only one if they make it.
Yeah,
True.
exactly.
That bye feeling good for them. Portsmouth potentially, not getting lucky, but they've, not having to play your way in there is definitely a plus. There are teams still that do have a chance to play their way in there, and this is a matchup that I think is super interesting in the upper bracket. The last one we have left to talk about is Erasmus Rotterdam versus FHCW Esports, because we just heard Quint say, there are good players on Erasmus, players who are potentially better than me. Maybe not better than Tigray and Nagflow, which is probably a given in this tournament. But they also played against FHDW Esports in their group, and he didn't even mention them at all. They didn't come up. So at the same time, I would have said going into this, FHDW definitely in with a good shout, Lacto. So the fact that, he's kind of favouring Erasmus, probably fair, but I don't think it's fair to write FHDW off entirely.
No, it's definitely not. I mean, I wanted to give FHDW more credit, but going to 7 against an Engine Stuttgart team, being weak and without Adgos, has made me question them a little bit. Maybe just credit to Stuttgart, but Erasmus definitely been placed on a podium after their heroics in the group stage, winning out all them important head-to-heads in Group B, though in many of them series, I really don't know how convincing they were, as we do know they were just over a minute from getting clean swept by Dusseldorf. So, I mean, that one, it feels like both those teams could quite inconsistent in terms of level as well, will equally be very hard to call.
Yeah, and if you want to talk inconsistency, FHDW, they started to fall apart a little bit in the last week of groups as well. All of a sudden, they came into that week sitting in a clear second place. They lost both of their series in the last week to drop them a little bit lower. And I mean, Sigmund, it kind of looks like they are a bit shaky now. And if you had to call this matchup between Erasmus and FHDW, it probably comes down to who shows up on the day. And there's no easy way to call that at the moment, is there?
There's no denying they've had a massive confidence knock heading into that last week, I believe. They faced Berlin? No, they didn't at all, actually.
No.
That's just
wrong.
They faced two teams which are definitely beatable given their form. They have been on a bit of a massive winning streak up to that point, so if they've just started losing, they've had their first experience of it as a roster, because they had massive changes over last summer and played in Division 2 of Uniliga, where they got promoted. Maybe there's just a feeling a little rough, and against Erasmus, that's exactly how you don't want to be feeling, given they're pretty good candidates for second place right now.
Yeah, absolutely. But luckily for FHDW, they'll have a second chance to recover themselves, to regroup, to recuperate. If they can't find their form in that upper bracket, if they lose to Erasmus, they will drop down to face the winner of ULB, University Libre de Bruxelles, versus Dusseldorf Gaming Dragons in that lower bracket. And this is a matchup. I mean, Brussels, they came through as the only team without a winning record. And we said it multiple times because it's kind of impressive to make it out of groups without a winning record in game score. Versus Dusseldorf, who is a strong team, but ULB beat York 4-2. They're looking okay at the moment. This matchup is going to be kind of exciting.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I feel like ULB came into that York series as slight underdogs, and yet they pulled out their finger and had the performance to win it. They're going to have to step it up one further against Dusseldorf, who are a team we know with significant weakness. If you can get them spiraling in that downward trend, and I feel like they have not looked like the same team, at least in EURC, ever since that Erasmus reverse sweep. And they had the exact same problem against Basilisks when they started losing. They couldn't stop it. They got that 2 up, and then immediately 4 in a row. Basilisks just win. And the question is, if ULB can spiral off that momentum, they got a lot of support. And whilst they coming into, halfway through the group stage, I'd have said there is no way ULB would beat Dusseldorf. Right now, it seems like a very possible prospect down there in that lower bracket.
It definitely does, ULB. It's the curse of a lot of teams that seem to be left in this tournament, Sigmund. Little bit streaky, little bit hot and cold, and right now some of them are struggling to find the heat.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for Dusseldorf. They've just come off a disappointing loss. In fact, several, I want to say, because they actually took several in their group as well. Might have gone 5-2. Going to fact check myself again. Yeah, 5-2. I think we might be giving ULB a little too much credit here, though. Yes, they beat York, but again, I don't rate York too highly domestically. They didn't get particularly close to making championship bracket in NSE. And coming up against Dusseldorf, which is one of the bigger German sides, I think we'll see them crumble. I think they'll still have a decent time of it, but it's not going to be an easy series if they win it.
No, it definitely won't. But hey, that's the excitement of playoffs, right? We are now down to, well, we were final 16 at the top of the night. We're now down to our final 14 as we have said goodbye to the Kiel Kraken. We've said goodbye to the Groningen Fair Play Mojitos. We will say goodbye to 2 more teams on Wednesday. We will head rapidly towards our final 12, and you do not want to miss it. Those games will all be happening on Wednesday, the ones we've just run through. Same place, same time, and we will see you all there.